What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Ask the Expert live. I'm Joe Evers, the fence expert. We've got other experts on today. It's going to be like a first ever panel discussion of a group of fence guys, fence experts, if you will, just kind of talking fence and answering your guys' questions live. Give me just a minute. I'm going to get this all set up. First let's say hi to a few people. So Nolan was first up, says, "What's up, Joe and Sean? Need fence installed and American Valley Fence here to support." All right. Very cool. Thank you, Nolan. It's good to see you here. All right. So first up, I'm going to bring up Sean, Mr. Fence. Mr. Fence, how are you?
What's up, guys? I'm in Jacksonville, Florida right now, enjoying some sand and beautiful sunshine.
There you go, man. What a view behind you. Holy cow. It's a rough life in the fence world, in your fence world, huh?
Can be sometimes. We work hard and we play hard. There's that happy mix.
There's got to be some sort of equilibrium.
Right. I try to keep that somehow in line.
Absolutely.
Hopefully the audio's okay. I don't know. I'm on the balcony because we got better reception out here. Okay.
Yeah. We hear you. We see you. Makito's here. Hello, Makito. How are you? Also, Stephen Lancaster, surfs up. That sounds right.
I surf for my man. But I don't get my feet in the sand and have a cold beer in my hand.
Boy, that sounds about right about now. I tell you what, here in Southwest Missouri, it is cool and raining.
Oh, well, sorry.
I will take warm and sunny any day, especially in Florida. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Roger's here with us. Roger, welcome. Thank you. Appreciate you guys showing up each and every week. Of course, if you guys have questions, we're going to be answering questions live here. But if you guys have questions, also drop those in the comments, and we'll just kind of have a panel discussion about your guys' questions as well. All right, Sean, I'm going to bring up a couple more guys that you might know. First, we got Dan Blanc, the Fence King. Dan, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How about y'all?
Doing well. Now, Dan, you're down in Louisiana. Is that right?
Yes, sir. We're just north of New Orleans, about 30 miles.
All right. Hey, I tell you what. So we just hired a guy yesterday that's up from the Baton Rouge area.
Oh, really? It's not too far from me.
Yep.
Too far for me to travel to work, but
no. He lives here now. But yeah. All right. And then speaking of Florida, we got another Florida guy on with us here. Chris, how are you?
Doing well. How are y'all?
Doing very well. Now you're down in Florida as well, right? But a different part of Florida, maybe.
Yep, I'm on the other end from Sean in Jacksonville, and surprise, it's storming here, Sean.
Well, that means you're probably sending it over to Sean. Is that how that works?
I'm trying to get it. He needs a little sunshine, man. After last week,
I'll be gone.
Yeah, it hit me this morning.
Don't be a hater.
6 a.m.
Yeah,
so
it's been in Missouri. It's been storming here since last night about 8 or so, and it absolutely poured all night. But that's good for fencers. If it's going to rain, I prefer it rain in overnight and over the weekend.
Yep.
Keep it out of my weekday.
Right.
For sure.
But with enough rain, it makes the ground nice and soft. So
easier to dig.
That's right.
My problem is we've been getting so much rain.
Drive.
We were going to work today, so messed me all up.
That's true. Say hi to a few more people. Bo Butler's here with us. Morning, everybody. I love this Saturday schedule. Much easier to make time for. Bo, that was absolutely my intention. I was hoping it'd be easier for you guys to jump on and ask your questions and just generally interact. So this is what is this now? The second or third Saturday or so that we've done this. It's gone pretty well. It's going to be kind of our standard thing moving forward. Let's see here. Colin, what is up? Good morning, Fence fam. Everyone finna pull up. Agreed.
Inside joke.
Yeah, that's
great.
That's going. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys coming on. I know it's a time commitment on a Saturday morning. So first, I want to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
We appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, how are things? Let's kind of go around the room and talk about how things are going, kind of in your neck of the woods. Well, Sean, obviously not Florida. Your home neck of the woods. How are you guys seeing things? So Sean's neck of the woods is Indiana. And we've got Louisiana and Florida. I'm in Missouri. I think it'd be interesting to have a quick discussion on what the markets look like in your guys' area. So, Sean, why don't you start? How's the market look in your area as far as fencing goes?
I would suspect it looks a lot like everybody else's market, and it's balls to the walls. Tremendous amount of work. We're operating a volume we've never operated at margins we never had before, with quite an increase in productivity with our team. So we're kind of lucky now that we have things long enough to see the benefits of years of dedication and training. We've got some teams that are really right now a ton more work than we've ever had, and we're in a good position to handle that work better than before. So it's kind of like a great mix right now.
Dan, how about you down your way? How are things looking in Louisiana?
Man, it's great. I don't know if it's just I don't know what's going on. I've never seen this before. I don't know if it's springtime, stimulus checks, income tax returns, all mixed in. People have been sitting home for the past year and tired of looking at their yards and decided, hey, I just got $1,200-$1,400 for me, my 3 kids, and my husband. Let's build a fence. And kind of like Sean said, we're definitely working at greater margins. We literally just went up on our margins. We hit 3 weeks worth of work. We jump our margin up. So then that way we look more appealing to our customer base because we can get to it sooner than all the guys are saying, oh, I'm booked till July. I'm booked to August. Yeah, I'm booked 3 weeks. So, yeah, and that's Dan, where we like to keep it.
Dan, I'd like to circle back around to that conversation about how far out to schedule and stuff like that. So keep that in mind because I'll squirrel away from this, but I want to talk about that.
But other than that, man, the market is great right now, and we just got our Rhino driver in from Mark Olson up at SWI Fence, and I'm ready. Next week I pound my first job. I've been on the phone with Chris, figuring things out. Been on the phone with Master Halco, just making sure I do this right,
Sure. Yeah,
so absolutely. I'm excited to start driving posts and take concrete out of the mix.
Well, so. I'm sure we'll hear a few opinions on that in the chat. I bet if I were to guess. Chris, how are things down your way? How are things down on the west side of Florida?
Yeah, just like they mentioned. I mean, this is the busiest we've ever been. The volume of work that's coming through the door is just incredible. Knock on wood, things are great, but it's a lot. I mean, the busiest I've ever even almost imagined being.
Oh, absolutely. Agreed. And, the point I was trying to illustrate here. Are you guys there?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the point I was trying to illustrate, I guess, is that, everyone's busy everywhere, right? Whether we're talking about Indiana, Missouri, Louisiana, Florida, it seems like it's that you're hearing that same story everywhere. Everybody's busy everywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Give me just a second. So we had a power surge here, and things kind of flickered. And give me just a second to get everything back up. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of the point. And the reason I bring that point up is you see guys. We talk about this a lot, but you see guys and gals in the groups on Facebook, and the number one comment is, "Well, I'm sure that's fine for you guys, but in my market, it's completely different."
Right.
Yeah. And I think what we're learning, via watching everyone else's YouTube shows and talking to everyone else online, I think one thing we're learning is that the markets are all pretty much the same. I mean, or at least similar.
They are.
When it comes to the amount of business. Yeah.
Yep. Especially right now. That's, and I don't want this to turn, I don't want to get into a big discussion on this, but the economy's strong. The economy's still strong. Irregardless of what external forces are out there, the economy's strong right now. I think Dan's point's accurate in that, and people are home. We saw this last year. We saw this a lot last year where people were working from home. They're home more. They want the kids out of the house, and they want the kids in the backyard, but they don't want the kids to go run in the street.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people I had say, man, I've been sitting at my kitchen table working for the past 6 weeks and looking out my kitchen window, at this awful looking fence. I didn't realize how bad it looked.
Yeah.
They're going out on their back patio to smoke a cigarette and realizing, hey, this fence really looks rough.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing. And so my grandfather always said, and everyone, it's kind of like the fence thing, right? 3 things to keep a fence company in business: kids, pets, and bad neighbors.
Yep.
Well, you stay at home all the time, you're going to deal with all 3 of those.
Yep.
Right?
Let's say I quarantined in there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So you're dealing with your kids or the neighbor's kids. You're dealing with your pets or the neighbor's pets. And then you're dealing with all your neighbors who are also home all the time.
Right.
So I think it really highlighted, the need for fencing. And and I think we're still seeing that now.
Absolutely.
Well, swimming pools too. I can't tell you how many swimming pool jobs that we've got, and really it's working in our favor because most of the guys in my area don't know the pool code. So,
Sure.
So we're doing a ton of swimming pools.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, Dan. A buddy of mine here in town owns the jacuzzi dealership, and they've been out of stock, so they haven't been able to stock inventory for the last year.
Right.
They've just, as soon as the truck comes in, they've already got a list of folks that want it, and it just goes straight back out. Nothing ever hits the floor.
I think
That's
everything's
wild.
like that. I think everything. I mean, even different industries, not even construction. I mean, across the board, the supply chains are tough.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I've been
Let's say
waiting
how to-
3 months on a stove.
Yeah, I mean, it's you hear that. To Chris's point, you hear that same story in pretty much any consumer good, right? I would consider fencing a consumer good. Consumers buy it. Yeah, it's installed, yes, but I think you see that across the board.
What I find interesting as well, guys, we're down here in Jacksonville, and this hotel is packed. And so is the one next to us. And Mike Parnell is on his way down here. He can't find a hotel room within 50 miles, he said, of where we're at.
People are ready to get out and move.
This place is absolutely packed. There's people everywhere up and down the streets, riding bicycles, working out. Parking lots are overpacked. It's crazy.
Yep.
Let's say hi to a few people here. Kentucky Rainman says, "What's cracking, everyone? Old Glory Fence here. Welcome, Old Glory Fence." Roger Bencourt has a question. How feasible is starting my fence company as a side hustle, weekend work, until it takes off? Doing it legally and with business, bank account, and insurance. Guys, I think this is a great first question for the panel here. Let's kind of start. Let's go clockwise here. Sean, what do you think? How would you answer that?
So the question is now, how feasible is it? So he's asking, like, how much money is it going to cost, I guess, or does it make sense to start? I would say to start a business right now, it makes sense because there's the number one thing you need is work to get started, right? You need to go out and work. I do respect the fact he's saying doing it legally. Business, bank account, insurance. I'm all for more people doing that. I want more of a competition to come up from that part. May create slower growth, but that's going to be a positive growth, right? And you're going to set yourself up for success in the future. I also do strongly believe there's a value to starting, we use the word side hustle, but learning a trade and figure it out before you jump ship from your current employer could be safe for your family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Dan, what are your thoughts on it?
Starting a fence company. Well, as you know, I had one of my crews decided to break off and start his own business, and he's like, "Hey, man, I got $40,000. I'm going to start my own business." And I was like, "I don't know what you're going to do with $40,000, yeah, I mean, definitely. We went to the Home Builders Association meeting the other day, and they had the North Shore Technical College was there, and I was like, "Hey, what are we doing for the fence industry? Instead of having all these guys doing like he said, a side hustle, we need to start teaching these guys a skill, because it is a skill. And if we're going to teach welding and we're going to teach electrical, why not offer fencing? So I started that conversation with our local community college, and I'm hoping to start changing those things to teach these guys, hey, get an LLC, hey, file as an S corp, hey, W-2 yourself, and start properly. Because you know how I started? I started with a zip up bank bag and a notebook with cash in it.
Which is common.
And then I had to buy a gun to protect my cash. So it's just it's yeah. Let's do it legally. Let's do it right, and let's learn from somebody.
Sure.
So
Agreed.
and Sean's a good outlet for that. With all his Mr. Fence stuff, all his platforms.
Together we get better, guys. You're going to hear me start saying that a lot. Together we get better. I strongly believe in that. We help each other.
Now let's just pause for a second, Chris. I'd like to get your opinion on this too.
Yeah.
But Sean, do you sit up at night and think up the sayings? Like, you have the best thing. You really do. But I can't imagine.
That just came to me like 2 days ago, and I'm like, you know what? That's what I'm trying to do.
I just picture like you guys are sitting around the dinner table, and you're like, wait a minute, guys, I got another one. Pennies make babies, and babies make dollars. That's the one.
Yeah.
Write it on the board.
Yeah. I get too many pennies together, and they make babies. And then when those babies grow up to be dollars. It's just reality. That came to me on the fly in Nashville, man.
But was it? Well, that's where I first heard. So we heard it first, right when you thought about it.
You did.
You did. It makes sense. It makes sense. All right, Chris. So talking about the discussion question, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so that hits home for me because that's exactly how I started. As long as you're going to do it right, and it seems like, of course, that's what we're shooting for here. I think it's feasible for a side hustle or a side business. And it just depends. Do you want to change from this full time? Because now it's a whole different step. Do you want to build a quality fence on the weekend and make some good extra money? You're going to do it right? Absolutely. I don't think it's a crazy outreach to think you have to spend too much money. I mean, the biggest thing for us looking back at that is doing it correctly, installing the fence right. Obviously you're going to be a little cheaper because you're the overhead, and that's okay as long as we're getting a quality product at the end of it.
That's right. That's right.
And most guys get so scared that someone's going to do that, but if they're going to do one fence a week, is that really going to – there's so much business out here. No one's not taking anything from you.
Well, that's the thing. And, Chris, that hits on a bigger discussion, too, when we're talking about, getting along with your fellow fence guys and gals in your community.
Yep.
So let me give my answer, and then we're going to circle back around to that. So my thought here, so how feasible is starting my fence company as a side hustle, weekend work until it takes off, doing it legally and with a business account and insurance? Roger, I think it's completely feasible. Now, right now, we're in a weird spot, right? In the fencing industry, we're in a weird spot. Supply is kind of messed up. Demand is high. So can you find work? Yes.
Absolutely.
Now, I like the fact, as everyone said, I like the fact that you hit on doing it legally. Business bank account, insurance. That's going to take some time to get set up, right? The best time to start this process was yesterday. So, but I like how you're also viewing it as a side hustle and weekend work. I think one thing we see guys do is jump feet first, try to build their plane on the way down, right? Yeah. And a lot of times that doesn't work out because there are a lot of steps in this, but you're viewing it right. So you want to start legitimately and start on the weekends. So as you become busier, you simply schedule yourself out further and further. I think from what it sounds like here, I think Roger's off to a great start.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Kyle, let's talk about getting along with your competitors in your market. You and I were talking before we went live. You just hosted a massive open house at your location. Yeah. And we were talking about this, that there are other fence guys there too.
Absolutely.
Now, were those fence guys from your market? Were some of them from your market?
Some of them were, some weren't. Some came in and did the training and just different styles of fence. But there was a lot of guys there that own companies. I mean, right here, that we work next to each other.
I think that's huge. I do. That's when, like you said, there's more work in our markets. As we talked about in the beginning, there's more work in our markets than we can reasonably keep up with.
Right.
So I would welcome friendships and relationships in my own market with other fence guys, because here's what happens is we order from, one of the 4 main fence suppliers, pick one. And for us, so we do a lot of chain link on the commercial side. And this happened Thursday. We ordered 3-inch brace bands, a bunch of 3-inch brace bands. We were low. And what do you think showed up? 3-inch tension bands.
Yeah, tensions.
Well, that doesn't work.
Right.
Could it work? Sure. Does it work? No. And we had a job where we need a couple hundred of them. So what did we do? We called up one of our friends here, competitors, and said, "Hey, do you guys have some 3-inch brace bands? One, I could trade you tension bands if you're looking for those. Or two, like let's work out a deal where I'll order some and I'll ship them to you. How about that?"
Right.
And that worked out perfectly. I mean, we're on great terms, right? And we do that vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes they'll be in a pinch. They'll need a couple rollers, or they'll need this or that or the other. And yeah, of course, if we've got it, it's yours, no problem.
Yeah, I think it's super important. I mean, just you never know when you're going to need one tension band to finish the job, and just because they're a competitor, it's most of the time you share the same ideas. You're both great people. Get to know them, take the competition out of it.
Right.
And everyone's a good person 99% of the time.
Well, the problem with that is a lot of competitors don't want to do that.
Some don't.
Yeah, they don't want any part of it, and that's my situation. I go on my competitors' Facebook pages and I'll comment as Fence King, "Hey, great looking fence." I see them in public, they don't even talk to me.
I go hug them. What's up, man? I make them like me.
But I do have a couple guys, like when Katrina hit, I had a guy, Dependable Fence. We hooked together and bought up a bunch of cedar. We're talking back in 2005 when I was still a young company, didn't have the working capital I had, and we worked together. And hey, man, we found cedar over here. We'd run over there and load down, and had it stacked up in his backyard at his house. Just working together.
Well, yeah, and I suspect it's like this elsewhere in our market. We each kind of specialize in something different. Right now, we do have overlapping work, but for us on the residential side, we like building wood. We love building wood. We've got crews, all they do is build wood. And then we've got other guys. Now, do we build aluminum and steel? Yeah. Well, we've got other guys that specialize in building. We've got a digger rep here that loves building aluminum. All he wants to do is aluminum fence and railing. So if we get a project come up that for whatever reason is not a good fit for us, or they're wanting it installed on a quicker timeline than we can provide, we say, you know what? Why don't you call these guys? They love building aluminum fence. I've seen their work. If I didn't build aluminum fence, I'd have them build my aluminum fence.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's how we work. And
the key there is they don't like building wood fence. So when someone calls them for a wood fence, turnabout's fair play, right? So we get the referral for the wood fence.
I made a relationship with a guy here in town, and because as you know, if you don't know me, all we do is wood privacy, wood picket, and aluminum. So the only time we do any farm and ranch 3-rail, 4-rail stuff crossbuck is if there's a gate operator involved, or it's 1,000+ feet. I don't do any hog wire. I don't do any barbed wire, T-post. I refer all that out to another fence company, and it works great. We've got a great relationship. He's got the code to my yard. Chris has got the code to my yard. These guys drop off material at my yard, and guys from Lafayette come to my yard and pick it up.
Sure. Yeah.
I just wish we had more of that locally.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, guys. Is I think by building relationships, everyone wins. Yeah. Right. As Sean would say, if he was with us, it'd be a twofer. Right. Is everyone benefits. A saying I like to use a lot is a rising tide raises all the ships.
It does.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm a huge believer in forming relationships with other fence professionals in your area. And I like what you guys are doing also, in that you guys are teaming up with other fence companies to kind of partner in education. Right. Chris, your event was, I mean, it was the main intention was an open house.
Right.
But you guys also took that opportunity to turn it into an educational event as well.
Yeah, and there's guys in our area that just don't know. Like some guys didn't know ASTM. What is that? Why are posts 30 inches deep on us? Why is that? They just don't know. I didn't know at one point. And I built a fence without it being that way, a long time ago when I started. Sure. And that's when I got involved with AFA and wanted to learn. So I want, when we do say that we are competing on a job, let's have apples to apples. Let them win because of their company structure, or they buy pricing better, or they like them better, not because they're going to fence that's not as deep in the ground or doesn't do this. So.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. So what I tell, so if we're talking to a customer and they say, well, we're going to get 3 bids.
Yep.
I agree. You ought to. You're off to a great start. Now let's talk about what should those bids include, right? Or what should those contractors look like? Licensed, insured, investing in continued education are kind of my top three things.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, when I was young, I did not have this outlook. I was like, we're the fence company. We're going to handle the fence. We're just going to do all the fence. And I don't like anybody else.
Yeah.
And my granddad finally, and I don't remember what comment I made, but I made some comment to that effect. And he had enough of it. He's like, listen, if you take all the other fence companies off the board in our town, if you take everyone out, can you imagine how crazy that would be? The madness that would ensue if we were trying to be the one to install all of the fence? Come on. We couldn't do that. No one could do that.
No.
Right? So let's get along with the other contractors in our area. Let's team up on, if it's a huge project, let's team up on it. Right?
Yeah. We've needed help before and brought another company in. Hey, and maybe they wanted to learn on it or we wanted to learn on it.
Sure.
We worked with Mr. Fence of Florida on some tennis courts one time, and it was a huge learning experience for us. I mean, it was great. Like, also, we obviously got paid, but then the learning that came from that, it was a win-win for both of us.
Of course. And now you both have that experience.
Yep.
Right. And you further built that relationship.
Right. I love it.
So let's say hi to a few more folks. We got some comments piling up. I don't want to keep up here. So let's see. Kyle Pommering says, what's up from Republic? That's where I'm from. Kyle, you're in my backyard. If it's Republic, Missouri. Now, there's probably other republics in this world. So, if you're from one of the other ones, that's okay. That's fine. But if you're from Republic, Missouri, what's up, fam?
I hear there's some other Fridays also.
All right. There are. And we are going to address that this Friday, as we do every other Friday. But this Friday, too. No, he actually came by after that and brought us drinks.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a solid guy. He really is. Wade Tagney's here. Says, morning, guys.
What's up, Wade?
Good morning, Wade. Now, I don't know if you guys can make out that logo. So Wade's with my father's son's fence company. My father's son fence company.
I like that.
Ever since I first saw that name, I was like, that. I like it a lot.
He's a good guy. I like speaking with him.
Yeah, I like Wade. He was on the show with Cannon and I.
Yep.
On our show. Yeah.
I first met Wade at Nashville at that event we were all at in Nashville, and I agree, Chris and Dan. Great guy to sit and chat with.
Yep.
Yeah.
You get a chance to talk to Wade. You buy him a drink I don't know if he drinks or not, but you sit that guy down and you pick his brain, and he'll learn you a thing or two.
Right.
What is this voodoo, Dan?
What? Hey, there's another Fence King?
It's another Fence King. There are other Fence Kings, but this is you.
Yes.
Somebody's got your account. You've been hacked.
Couldn't pass that opportunity up.
So Kentucky Rainman, he was replying to Roger's question about making it a side hustle but doing it legit. He says, Roger, I started mine as a side hustle with the same values you're starting with. I worked 70 to 80 hours a week for 2 years until I was financially stable enough to make the jump full time. Worth it.
Yeah.
I agree. And, here's the thing. Here's the great thing about fence is you could just bust it all week long. I mean, like 70, 80 hours a week, not crazy to talk about. But at the end of that week, you made something. Mm-hmm. Right? You could step back and appreciate the work you did, and someone else appreciates the work you did too. And they appreciate it so much, they'll even pay you money.
Right.
That's the thing is I agree. It is such a rewarding trade to get into.
It is.
Well, you know what we do? I've got a guy that's matter of fact, when I got back from Nashville, when I met up with y'all and met Wade and so forth, I decided I was going to pull one of my main crew leaders off and make him a salesperson and have my co-crew leader take over. And he was kind of like, I don't know if I really want to do this fence thing, this and that. So we came back that morning. I was like, hey, guess what? You're building a fence today, and he's not going to be with you. And he was like, took him a little longer, had more man hours than I was supposed to have in it. But when I talked to him the following afternoon, I was like, hey, man, how was it when you pulled off that job? I was like, man, it felt good. I said, well, I'm going to tell you one thing. 10 years from now, 15, 20 years from now, you're going to drive down the street and go, that's the first fence I built right there.
Yep.
So when I put that in him and he realized the accomplishment that came from building that fence, it changed everything. Now he's ready to go to work. He's ready to go build fence because he wants that feeling. He's chasing that accomplishment.
Sure.
And I've found it, and I've done that I did that with the guy I pulled off his truck. That's my salesman now. Did the same thing with him. Same thing with my other guy. Once they get a taste for that, hey, I did that. And when you see these guys posting the fences they did on Facebook and on their social media, you know they're proud of their work.
Yep.
And that's how you get those guys that are wish-washy and you turn them to the dark side. And, hey, sorry, bro, you're a fence guy now. You know?
Agreed.
The dark side.
Yeah.
Kenny Dugan's with us. Kenny says, good looking panel of experts here, better than Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh, Kenny.
You set the bar pretty high there. Better than Saturday morning cartoons. Like I'm going to take that as a compliment, but
I'm taking it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the road runner. That's all I got to say. I don't know who's the coyote, but I'm not being the coyote.
Have you guys seen, this is not fence related at all, but the Woody the Woodpecker, like live animation movie?
Yeah.
We just watched that last night as a family, and I remember watching Woody the Woodpecker as a kid with all like his craziness he got into. I was like, there's a real one? We're watching this tonight. They're like, well, we kind of want to watch something else. No, family movie night is Woody the Woodpecker.
Yeah.
Oh. Stephen Lancaster, most definitely. 4 buckets: profit, materials, labor, and overhead. Check Mr. Fence's info out there, Roger. He shares knowledge and lays things out comprehensively.
Yep.
Agreed. So here's the thing: 4 buckets: profit, materials, labor, and overhead. That sounds a lot like Profit First, and I think that's a book that's worthwhile. It's a worthwhile read. They have a Profit First for contract. They have a Profit First period, and then they have a Profit First for contractors. I read them both. Well, I did not read them both. I listened to them both. I'm not a big reader. I will listen to a lot of stuff. So audiobooks it is for me. But yeah, Profit First Contractors Edition speaks to that. So we've got a similar setup. We've got an income bucket that just all of the income flows into that. And then we've got, I want to make sure we get this right. We got OpEx, which is the big one. We've got payroll, which would be labor. Then we've got, OpEx, profit, owner's comp, taxes, payroll. That's right. 5 buckets. So, and the nice thing about this system, so I was telling a buddy about us. I've got a buddy that's an accountant. I was telling him about this. He's like, oh, yeah, that's clean profit. Clean profit. Like, as opposed to what? He's like, no. What I'm saying is a lot of times guys will have one bank account and they'll just pool all the money, but they won't know how much. They'll think they know how much of that is profit, but then some of it actually goes to labor. Some of it actually goes to OpEx or anything like that. In this system, like once it hits profit, that's done. You don't touch the profit account. That is your money, your reward for getting that done. And so like in the accounting community, it's clean profit because no part of that goes anywhere else. It's just, so when you pull up, so I like to look at my bank accounts in the mornings. When I pull them up and look, that profit number, that's done. That is locked in. That's my profit.
Well, I listened to Profit First the whole way to Winter Garden, Florida. I've got family in Winter Garden. And I got there, listened to it, took a nap, woke up, called my CPA and said, hey, Monday morning I'm opening a profit account and I'm going to start taking X amount of percentage, going straight into my profit account every week, and we're not going to touch it. And there was an awkward silence. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I don't have to trust you to tell me how much money I'm making. I'm going to know. I'm going to look at this profit account. I'm going to know what I got. And at the end of the year, when you take and you're going to hand me a piece of paper and you're going to say, oh, Dan, you made X amount of dollars this year. And I'm like, okay, where is it?
Yeah.
Well, you made it, but where is it?
Yeah.
It's going to be right there in that account. That's where it's going to be now.
Yeah. And it lets you know where you stand on all your levels, right? Like I can open up.
if I got to touch that account, Joe, I'm like, hold up, something's not right.
Bingo.
Something's off balance somewhere. Why am I touching my profit account?
And you don't touch it. And it might hurt. It might hurt something else, but you don't touch it because that's the money you've already put away. That's your reward.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I touched mine last year because I bought a building and I did this. I was like, this is what it's for.
Right.
You know?
Correct. I didn't mean to say you never touch it, but you know what I mean? Like, I've been guilty of saying, you know what? If I had an extra X amount of dollars, I could buy another couple loads of lumber. I could get them on the ground, but I would have had to pull from my profit account. I say, nope, I got to wait till OPEX has it in there and I can buy material out of the operating expenses. You know, it just, at a glance, you know exactly what you're saying. Like I said, one of our buckets is owner's compensation. That's how I get paid. So that every morning I log in to make sure there's money there to pay me. You know what I mean? And that's a whole different discussion. But taking care of your number one, which is you, first. You know, it's Tom Reber's got a great saying. You know, if a plane's going down, the masks fall. You put it on yourself first because you got to have oxygen, and then you can help other people.
Yep.
If you don't help yourself first, if you don't make sure that you're in good working order, you're not going to be of use to other people.
Right.
Yeah, you want to keep an eye on that account for that disbursement at the end of the year, you know?
Of course. Well, or throughout the year.
Oh, yeah. However you do it.
That's the thing is that, I mean, that's our process is I know because we've got that owner's comp, that's my earnings. So I can take it monthly if I wanted to. That way I just know the money's going to work. I know exactly how much is there for me to take out. So anyway, Stephen, great point. All right. So Roger says, thanks guys. Love all the encouraging answers. Thank you, Roger. Guys, Roger's been with us and watching us since like the beginning, since the first live, I think. He's been here the whole entire time. Yeah. William Grove says, what's up, Chris? Look at you on live. What's up, Joe and Tom? I agree. So
in here.
How long ago were we in Nashville? Was it 2 months ago?
I think about 2 months ago, yep.
If you'd asked me 2 months ago, hey Joe, what are the chances that Chris is going to be Chris will be on camera? And now let's take live out of it. What are the chances? I'd be like, man, I hope he does, but I don't know.
Probably not going to happen. Yep.
Yeah. And look at him now.
Cannon and Sean got it figured out. Cannon hits me with the, man, I really need your help. And I can't say no.
Okay.
When we were in Nashville, I was just joking. Had my phone in my hand, and I walked up and was like, "Hey, we're live here in Nashville," and it was just nothing. And I walked up to Chris, and Chris was like, "Gone."
Like the witness protection program.
Yeah, it was great, man.
My hands just got unsweaty.
No, but
yes, so
but that's real, Chris. I do appreciate you coming on. I appreciate everyone, but I know how big of a deal this is for you, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
We got a fence question. JW says, if my frost line is 36 inches, so further north, do they even make a 4x4 by 9 foot post? Yeah. I mean, 4x4 by 12s are kind of a thing here for like decks and such. So yeah. Now, let's talk about wood post versus steel post. Like that's a conversation worth having. That anytime you have lumber that's starting to get that long, you're probably going to have issues with it. You know, as far as being straight, twisting, anything like that. But it is out there. It's out there.
Never dealt with Frostline personally, so I can't answer that.
Yeah, me either.
All right, listen, guys.
I've dealt with water table.
We don't need that. We don't need that on this channel. We don't need to hear that. Some of us do have to worry about frost line for you there in the south.
I think our next conversation should be about wet concrete, dry concrete.
No.
There goes the comments.
You're trying to burn this channel down, Dan. No. I don't appreciate that. John Bowdy, Rowdy Bowdy's with us, says, what a good-looking group. And then he does the rock on. Yeah, John. All right. Rowdy Bowdy. You guys know John Bowdy? Have you guys met him?
I do not think so.
He was at the Nashville event, not on the fencing side, but on the standing side. You ought to. So John's actually kind of up in Sean's neck of the wood. John's actually outside of Indianapolis, but in the Indiana area. If you get a chance to talk to John, you ought to. Like he's he's a fence guy. He's our age. He's just really he's a good dude. He's a good dude. He's got his head on straight for sure. Steven Lancaster's right. So this is probably when we were talking about, fencing being worthwhile trade and being a good trade to be in. And that's right. It's something that you can take a lot of pride in. I agree with that completely.
Definitely.
All right. So we're somewhat caught up. There's a few comments here, but I also see someone waiting in the queue that I think this channel will get a good kick out of.
Oh, here we go. I can only imagine.
Oh, yeah.
What is up, Cannon?
Look who it is.
Ken Johnson.
How are you, sir?
What up, everybody?
Cannon says, I'm finna go live.
Hey, Cannon, look at this, man.
Fitting to go.
Look right here.
What is that,
Nice.
Dan?
Jackson fence sign, man.
Oh, I like it. So I'm in my truck, guys. So I don't know how my reception is, and you can boot me if you want to. That's cool. But I wanted to
Yeah.
jump in and say hello.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we'll keep you as long as the connection's good. We've got a few other guys that are kind of waiting in the queue. We got Sean and Joey Pinnell down in the queue, but their video's not on right now. So as long as your video stays good, we'll keep you. How's that?
Yeah, man. I'm down.
So what's going on
Very
this
good.
morning, Cannon? Where you headed?
Man, so I'm out here writing some good last chapters with customers. I had a couple of small repairs. I got a ticket with nails missing, whatever. So I'm out here
Yeah.
doing the heavy lifting, popping nails and boards that got missed. And so one thing that I like to do, I just left the house when I started the broadcast. I was at a guy's house, and it's I don't know how you guys handle this, but so what happened was we had a rip board, and anytime somebody says, "Hey, I've got a board that didn't get any nails," I'm like, "How am I going to get the rip board?" It was. And so we're working on changing the process as to how we do rips here. And everybody knows what a rip is. It's one of the last boards that go on a fence. It doesn't fit. Got to be cut. I don't know how you guys do it, but we're changing it. But anyways, the process has always been get toward the end. It won't be the last board, but usually it's the next to last board, And so we got one guy nailing. One guy comes around the saw, and he just cuts all the rips at one time, And what that guy typically does, he'll cut that rip, he'll put it in that hole to make sure it fits, And sometimes it fits like a glove, And I know what happened here is whoever was the saw man that day, he put that board back in that hole to make sure it fits, and it fits so tight he left it, And so we got a guy holding a nail gun, and there's not a hole in the fence, so it doesn't turn out to him, And sure enough, I get there today, and I got all these 5.5-inch pickets, and then I got a 4-inch picket. I'm like, yep, that's the rip board, And I know exactly what happened. I explained it to the customer, hey, this is what happened. It shouldn't have happened. It's not okay, and we have to make sure that it doesn't happen, But this isn't the first time I've seen it, Anyway,
Well,
so
Cannon, Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
I'm walking the fence with the customer, and I'm kind of going above and beyond. I'm like, hey, I'm going to walk this fence, and I'm going to look. I'm going to make sure I can see a silver head in all these holes. So sometimes a nail goes tricky. You think you put a nail in there, but it didn't fire a nail, So I'm making an extra effort, and he's walking beside me. I'm like, hey, look, there's one right there at the bottom. I grab it, and sure enough, the board pulls up, So I'm like, all right, we're going to put screws in that one. So he even identified that, and I identified it for him, And it was on the dirt too. Like that was one of the highest spots in the yard. So that picked up actually on the dirt. Probably never would have pulled up, And then I found one had a little crack at the top. Typically, it's normal. And I was like, hey, you know what? While I'm here, I've got some boards. I'm gonna pop that one off and change it out too. So I always preach to my team, and I try to deliver it myself. Hey, if they calls us back, we get a call back. That's what we call it. If we go back, that's our opportunity to write a good last chapter. I don't just go and fix what they said, hey, this ain't right. Take an effort, walk the whole thing. You might find something else. Like, don't spend your half a day there, But
Right.
if you can find something else, fix it and point it out to them. I fixed your problem, and I also found another problem, and I fixed while I was here,
Yeah, I think so. I like the idea of walking the fence line and walking it with the customer, saying, "Hey, here's what I see. Here's what I don't see." and what I ought to see. I like that idea a lot. I really do. So, guys, so Dan and Chris, you guys both build wood fence. This is an interesting conversation. How do you guys handle rip boards, or what? How do you handle that space less than the width of a picket?
I mean, what we do is I've taught my guys, you don't make it the second to last fence board. We always nail up about 5 or 6 boards. So when we get to that last section, we get to that post, we stop, we go to the end, we nail up 4, 5, 6 boards, and we put the rip there. Because what I've found in the past, when the customers are walking in their backyard, their eyes are drawn to the corner, and then they see that one picket that's right off. And what we try to do is we try to dog ear them both to where it looks like one big board. Well, then the customer is like, oh, that board's ripped all the way in half. I can't believe that. So we quit doing it. We started dog earing our little rips, or scribes, whatever you want to call them, so they realize it's a board. So that cut those callbacks out. And then we move it down that line 4 or 5 foot. So when they're walking towards their gate and they look at the corner, they don't see it. It's back here in their peripheral.
Yeah.
That's how we've gotten rid of that problem.
Yeah.
And the other thing we do is when we're picking up our string line and nails in the top of the fence, which I'm sure Sean just loves to hear that, I have them take those nails and nail the rips. Well, we're not doing that anymore. So we actually had this conversation Monday. I'm like, hey, everybody's got straightaways, bump boards, whatever you want to call it. But hey, we got to make sure our rips get nailed in now, because we don't have nails sticking out the top of our boards anymore with string lines. We completely eliminated that out the process. So to be honest with you, I don't know how we're going to handle it. I just need to make sure they get nailed in, you know?
Yeah. Chris, how do you guys handle that?
Yeah, so we do it towards the end. We try not to be right on the end, but definitely in the last section towards the end. If it's less than 3 inches, we make it a wider board. But if it's more than 3 inches, we just dog ear it.
Yeah.
So for us, it's half the width of the board is the rule, which is about 3 inches, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever want to see anything less than half the width of any board. I want to see a double splice and dog ear both sides, like Dan talks about. We have the same process Cannon talked about, where most of the time the rips are the last piece, where someone goes back through, cuts it all, someone else comes back through and nails it all. But we have a rule that you're not allowed to stick it in place. It has to be touching the middle rail and out away from the fence at a diagonal. So it's very clear that is not nailed to the fence. We can't leave them up in place because they get forgotten about.
Exactly.
But the idea of moving in 4 or 5 boards in the corner has some merit to it for sure, because it can probably be less noticeable that way than on the corner. I could see the value of that. We typically go at least 1 board in from the corner or 1 board in from the gate.
Yeah, so our process is kind of similar to Dan's in that we like to go 3 to 4 boards back. It seems like the corner is where your eye starts, right? If you're the customer or you're the neighbor, you start at the corner, which is why we put our fence signs on the corner, right? Because that's where the eye starts. So we like to try to move away from that. Our rule is if it's over half an inch, so if we've got to cut down more than half an inch, we cut 2 boards. So that way to try to make them blend a little bit better. Now, it's longer. It takes a little bit longer. Not that much longer, but a little bit longer. I think it looks better, and it's less noticeable to the eye if you've got 2 next to each other that are the same width, and then the next ones get wider.
I see what you're saying.
To some extent.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I like Sean's idea, not having the guys stick them in. That's what I'm going to tell him.
I like that idea.
Don't pop it in, because we number them. They'll go around. Number 1, they'll scribe it, write a 1 on the back, so they know where they go. You know, and the 1 goes where the 2x goes, so you don't see it from the backside. But that's what I'm going to tell them. Don't pop it in. Just lean it up against the fence, and somebody with a nail gun walk around and nail them.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Well, guys, so we lost Cannon. We lost Cannon's video, so we brought Sean up. But Cannon, I tell you what, if you're out there watching and listening, thank you. That was a great question. I like that a lot. So, guys, let's do this. I'm gonna have to drop a couple of you and bring up a couple more guys. So, Dan and Chris, if you don't mind, I'll drop you down. Stick with us. I'd like to bring you back up. We gotta let other people on here,
I
Dan.
heard to the grapevine.
Sean got me out of bed for this, man. I was up
Well-
drinking bourbon late.
Stick around. I'll bring you guys back up here in a little bit, but I'd like to share the love a little bit. Give me just a second. All right. Joey Pinnell's been waiting for quite a while. Joey, how are you?
I'm doing great today. How are y'all doing today?
Hey,
Well,
Joey.
doing well. So, Joey, tell everybody where you're joining us from.
I'm in Coleman, Alabama. I'm actually on my way to run an estimate right now. I ain't got a ton of time. But Sean made me get on here and talk to you guys.
Yeah, do it. Do it.
Threaten these guys.
Oh. Camera's kind of close
stuff.
to my face.
That's
You're
all right.
good.
That's all right. So, Joey, what do you want to talk about? What do you got on your mind?
Well, I was I'm tell Chris, man, great event last week. We had a blast down there and learned a lot. And Sean told me that he had some other things to talk about on here, so I was going to get on here and ask him what all he had.
Yep. I think, Joe, we had talked about discussing some of the matrix you figured out from last weekend, right?
I'd like, yeah,
Last
absolutely.
Joey to
Let's
him.
talk about that.
Joey was there. He had his team. And
Yep.
to give everybody, the listeners that are listening, who else do we have in holding?
Yeah, let me bring Chris back up. So I think it'd be good to have him. We also have Chase Arnett, and we've got Cannon back up. So let me
we
bring
got
Chris
Chase
back
too,
up.
okay.
I think Chris would be a good addition to that. We can kind of hear both sides of the same event. Welcome back, Chris.
Hey,
So,
it's quick.
so I'm glad that Chase Arnett is here too, because I really want to get some of his feedback as well. So Chase,
Okay.
if you're on here, hang on, because Chase was one of the guys that was actually brought his company there and built fence, right? So just to give everybody a rundown, last weekend, Chris Steele held his crawfish boil. I think you've already talked about that. He also built fence at the same time. We started off kind of talking about, hey, let's have a fence Olympics. We didn't know what that looked like, what that meant. What it turned out to be was really just a fence building event with a bunch of fence geeks building fence, run what you brung, build the way you want, and let's dissect and figure out not who was the fastest, not who was the best, but how did everyone get accomplished their goal of building the fence? What challenges did you have to overcome? What equipment did you use, and why? And then we did measure the matrix of what it took to build a fence, not to see who a winner was, but so we can learn from it, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It wasn't a matter of like, ooh, you got done first. No, it was more like, what did it take resource-wise? How much effort did it take? What would it have cost you in the real world to build that fence the way you did? And it was kind of interesting, some of the results. And let's see if I can have them all on the top of my head here, if I can remember them right or not. But we had some 2-man teams, 3-man teams, and 4-man teams, and some that even had a little bit more than 4 men at some point in the time, right? So bear in mind, I'm going to give you guys this caveat. There was some people drinking beer while this was happening. So I don't know, some people kind of just having a good time. I loved it. But we had people driving post and people setting post in concrete. And so that was unique to see that. And we also had some unusual digging conditions, like we always do building fence. Come on, guys, you're never going to have a perfect condition. And so before we even started this, we had 6 teams, and we drew numbers out of a hat because some areas were just going to be crap digging, period. And some guys had just easy digging. But the only fair way to handle that is just you get what you get.
Yep.
You don't know, right?
Yeah,
and if we try to get results in a perfect world, then what value does it really have? So I will tell you that some of the guys had perfect, flat, easy digging, easy to get their equipment to, and some guys had roots and buried tires, shrubs and trees in the way.
Yep.
So you can see the video on High Steel's page. I think we shared it there if you want. But what I think we found interesting here is the 2-man team driving post technically had less minutes. They used less minutes to construct the fence. In other words, it was 2 guys. It took them an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes. Okay, 2 guys, hour and 40 minutes. So you break that down, it's 100 minutes times 2 is 200 minutes. It took 200 minutes worth of man hours to build 61 feet, driven post, which they were the only 2-man team. Now, there was 3-man team that took a total of 225 minutes, and one that took a total of 229 minutes. I think we had 316 minutes. I think we had another 370 minutes, and even one was over 400 minutes when you add it all up, right? 400 man hour minutes. I didn't want to use man hours, guys, because it took an hour. You know?
Right.
So we had to break it down to minutes, you know. But I guess so. If someone were to ask me, Sean, which one's the best?
I need to take that ceiling fan down. I ain't cleaned all the walls.
I don't know which one's the best, right? So you might have the argument, well, the 2-man team, they had the less minutes, right? Well, that might be the case for a 61-foot job with nothing in the way and the materials are right there. You're going to dig holes and pack concrete. You might be asking an awful lot for a 2-man team to build 30 sections of fence at that rate, right?
Yep.
So I think there's some value to having a third guy when you got more work. I say work, like move stuff, right? Moving heavier material. And then we had another team that had 4 guys driving posts, and we figured out that that's probably too much manpower because it just wasn't enough work to justify the 4 guys. You know, at the end of the day, I think that they could have dropped the 4th guy and had exact same time. I don't think the 4th guy helped him at all.
I can see that.
I think the 4th guy
I think the
got in the
conversation,
way
Joe,
more than anything.
What's that?
So I think the 4th guy was totally irrelevant
was
in
holding
the period. You know,
he was
even
holding
carrying
an
boards.
umbrella, honestly. Right.
Well, especially on a 60-foot job. You know, I think so. Sean, you and I kind of talked about this the other night. That I think we need to start. When I say we, I mean my company. We need to start breaking down, have some sort because we have mainly 3-man crews. We've got a 2-man crew as well. We need to probably be better at scheduling the correct guys for the correct size crews for the correct jobs.
Yep.
You know, so if it's a 400-foot job, the 2-man crew is probably not the best crew for that job, right? But if it's
Not
a 60-foot, sure. But if it's a 60-foot job, I think what your data is showing us is the 2-man crew is effective at a 60-foot job.
Yeah,
that's right. That's for sure.
Right.
So I would make the argument, you got to figure out what your honey hole is or what your average size job is. The answer to the question, what size crew should I be using? You got to figure out how you're building fence. Are you using concrete or digging holes or you're driving posts? There's work there. How big is your average size yard? You need to build your company structure on your ideal fence job. Don't build it around a 60-footer or don't build it around a 900-footer if that's not what you normally do.
Sure.
Figure out what you guys normally do. You got to have your averages. We've got data that tells me exactly the number of sections on average we build on wood, vinyl, aluminum, and chain link over a year time. So I have good data. Now I know, work backwards, what's my average man hours? Okay. How do I get that done in 8 hours or 10, whatever workday schedule you are? That tells you how many guys you should have on your team, period. 2, 3, 4.
Well, you know, and this kind of gets back to a bigger subject that we've had quite a lot on the channel is simply knowing your numbers.
Yeah.
Tracking your numbers, knowing what they mean, how to analyze those numbers. But the biggest thing is just knowing your numbers, whether we're talking about labor in terms of man hours, whether we're talking about finance in terms of profit margins, you know, where you're buying, you know, what levels you're buying material at, that sort of thing. If you don't know your numbers, especially in today's market, but in any market, not knowing your numbers could absolutely be catastrophic.
It'll put you in the race to the bottom.
That's right.
True.
Ask me how I know.
Yeah, we've all been there. I mean, that's the thing is, like, I think if there's one common thing we all share is like we've all been there, right? Like luckily we've been able to pull the nose of the plane up in time to where we didn't hit the side of the mountain, but we saw that mountain.
I've seen it.
Right? Yeah.
I reached out and touched it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
well, let's do this.
Sure.
So let's do this.
Yeah.
So, Chris, if you don't mind, we'll drop you down again. We'll bring Chase up, kind of hear his experience during the competition.
Yep.
Hey, Joe, I'm about to jump off here and run this estimate, and I'll get
Okay.
back on her in a little while.
Well, let's do this. So we'll drop
So
Joey
bring
down.
Chase up. Yeah.
Yep, you bet. Welcome, Chase. How are you, sir?
Good, fellas. How are y'all?
Doing well. I appreciate you patiently waiting. It took us a little while to get
Chase
you
is
up.
in the house. Yeah.
So Chase, what was your experience at Chris's event?
My biggest takeaway from it was we're about to start pushing the Postmaster posts and driving them, as it is quick. I mean, they were picketing before we were done setting posts.
Yeah. I saw this conversation
sure.
come up in the Facebook group, and I was hoping that we would get to it today on this live. Switching to Postmaster posts exclusively is certainly one conversation to have. And it's something that we've done now. Something that I'm interested in that other guys are already a step ahead of us is moving to driving exclusively. And that you want to talk about a subject up for debate. That's one of them. It's right up there with concrete versus whatever. But so driving versus setting.
No.
It's right up there. It's a very divisive conversation, to say the least. So Chase, why don't you share? So you said you saw it firsthand, just how fast it was. What made you? Was it just simply the speed that really caught your attention? Oh, we lost Chase's audio.
Lost his audio.
Chase, we can't hear you. Can you hear us?
Chase, we lost your audio.
Oh man, technology is something.
There you go. There he goes.
Nope.
He's getting it.
Maybe.
But I tell you what, while he's coming. If he's coming up, we'll give him a second.
Yeah.
I've been really trying to analyze this drive and post thing. I'm literally in my Wednesday meeting with my team. Everybody, I'm talking the girls that run the front office, HR, sales staff, everybody. I got to the whiteboard, and I wanted to educate everybody with what we know so far on driving post. So we kind of have a class, and I drew it up on the board about what we know, and let's talk about what's physically happening, deflection and the fulcrum and the break point. Because when you drive post, this is what I envision. Okay, I'm not an engineer, and I'm not a mathematician. Okay, by any means, this is what I envision is happening. Your surface area is decreased drastically from the surface area of a concrete footing, and that is what we feel when we push on the post, and it kind of moves the soil a little bit. And I use the exaggeration, but imagine a knife through a cake. Turn the knife sideways and try to pull it through the cake. It's going to have a lot more resistance, right?
Yep.
So the same thing's happening with the skinny post driven in the ground. When you put resistance on it, it moves a little bit of soil up top until you have enough mass of soil that resists the force you're pushing on it equal and stop the pushing. So we have this movement at the top. We also have this flex where we don't have a finite point where it bends at the concrete footing, because we can agree it doesn't bend in the concrete. We've now taken this flex point and increased it, I don't know, to 8, 10, 12 inches of soil that's compressing. And we get this wave or this movement in the fence. And people say, well, that's weak. And I would suggest and say, no, I don't think it's weak. It's actually could be stronger. If you think about it, people that get in accidents that are drunk, they don't get hurt. People that are not drunk get hurt because they tense up, right? In martial arts, they teach to be fluid, flow. Don't be rigid and stiff. In law enforcement, when we fire our firearms, we are in a stable stance, not rigid, right? So that goes to show strength. I think with wind loads on a fence, we want that fence to flex and come back just straight. So there's some value to that, but it's different for us. We want to feel nice, good, strong fence. We don't really like that bend, but we live with it with vinyl. Vinyl fence waves all over the place.
Yeah, that's true.
And we're okay with that, but I think there's a calculation to the depth you need to be, and the thickness of the post will decrease the amount of deflection you have. I think there's some sort of calculation there. We have ASTM standards for a 30-inch depth hole for a concrete set post. Diameter should be 2 times the width of the post, blah, blah, blah. But we don't really have that for driven posts yet. So we don't know if it should be 3 times the depth. I don't know. Depends on soil conditions, of course.
I think there is an ASTM standard for driven post. I mean, not Postmaster specifically. I know Tony Thornton had shared in
That's what
one
I'm
of the
talking about.
groups.
There's a diameter.
Okay, I got you. So the ASTM standard for driven post would just be for the round post then.
I wonder what the because we can agree if we drive a 2-inch post in the ground at 4 foot deep, and then you drive a 7-inch timber post 4 feet deep, there's a significant difference on how stiff one is over the other.
That's
You
right.
follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know that I think that the ASTM standard that's there is really there for ag fence or something of that nature. I don't think it's for
highway. Yeah.
Imagine this is what I've been thinking of, guys. Yep. The other day, I'm a fence geek, but I'm trying to figure out how to drive aluminum fence posts. This is all I thought about on the plane ride here. I'm gonna nail this down. We are going to be driving aluminum fence posts. Watch it. It's happening. But I'm trying to, where's the spec in that? I got a 2-inch flat surface. How deep do I need to be? How do I drive without destroying the post? How do I get the section in after I've driven it? Blah, blah, blah. But I still think there's a spec that's got to be related to the surface area, the diameter of the post.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm very
Chase, are you
interested.
back?
Yeah. Can y'all hear
There
me?
we go.
Hey.
There you go. Very good. So Chase, on the driven post, you said it was the speed that kind of caught your attention first?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it is. It's a fast process for sure. I think there's other benefits to driving as well. I mean, speed equals efficiency, right? Which also means you can get the job done faster for less labor. But one discussion that comes up a lot in these groups too is what to do with the spoils. Right. So what do you do with the dirt and rock left over after you dig a hole? Do you leave it there? And you will hear everyone have a definitive answer on what to do with it. It'll either be, well, you got to leave it there, or you got to haul it off, or you got to rake it out, or, everyone has kind of their own definitive answer. That's kind of one of the key benefits for me is there are no spoils. There is no discussion with the customer. Where do you want me to leave the dirt? I think that's a key. I think that's a key takeaway for me on driving is the spoil. I mean, it's a big issue for us. So what do you do with the spoils? We haul them off because it seems to be what the clients in our area expect is for them to be hauled off. So that is factored into the cost of building this fence, right? It has to be paid for whether you say it's included in the price or not. It is included in the price. You got to do something with it.
You got to do it. Yep. But yeah, going through a nice.
We actually drove post. We actually drove post yesterday. What's today? Say Saturday, Thursday. Yeah. Thursday, we drove post on Thursday for a good size vinyl job. So we drove 2 3/8 posts, 4 feet deep, donuts on all of it. I think it was 32, 33 sections, something like that. Privacy fence, but it was in a brand new yard, brand new sod that went down 2 days prior. Dirt spoils would have been a huge problem in that situation, right?
What's up, fellas?
Oh, what the?
Wait a minute.
What?
What in the high steel?
We fixed that.
Going on?
So he called me and he was like, "Hey,
it.
dude, you want to jump in on this thing?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm driving. Let me see where I can pull over." And I was like, "I'm gonna be going by there in a few minutes. I'll just stop at his office." And then my phone kept ringing, so that's why y'all kept losing me.
Okay, all
competition. Right. See, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Bingo. Absolutely. This is exactly the point we were talking about. That just because it's competition doesn't mean it's competition we don't talk to. Right. No. There is positive competition, and I think this is a great example of positive competition.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Like you say, Joe, I've heard you say this, Joe, a rising tide rises all ships. I love sharing that because
I'm a huge believer in that.
Yeah. Together we get better.
That's right. So, so Sean, I used an example a little bit ago while you're off was that, so we needed a bunch of 3-inch brace bands. So we ordered several hundred of them. Well, what do you think they shipped us? 3-inch tension bands. Like, well, guess what? That's not helpful for this scenario. Like, could we make them work? Maybe, but that's not going to work. Like it won't work. So we called one of our friendly competitors here in town and said, "Hey, you got a couple 100 3-inch brace bands I could come get because I need them. I'll trade you some tension bands if you need them, or like we'll work out a deal, right? So we're just going to ship them. We're going to ship them replacements next week on next week's truck, and we've done that vice versa, where they get in touch with us and they're like, "Hey, we need ground rollers or we need cantilever rollers, whatever it is they need that we've got." And there's two of us in this town that get along like that. Everyone else is kind of out for their own, and everyone else is on their own. And I was like, man, if this is how we get along with two of us, imagine if 4 or 5 of us got along. We would have a network of resources here.
Yep.
But
let's hear from Chase. We got him here.
Talk all the time, and I'll call him. Hey, dude, what do you think about this? Or vice versa. It's a good relationship.
Well, and I bet if you needed help and you picked up the phone, he'd be there to help you.
Absolutely.
I know Chris would be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, we all need to be here for each other. We really do. And there's no sense for us to be divided. Because here's the thing, we get more done together than we do apart, than we do separate.
That's right.
I firmly believe that.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
It was the crawfish bowl, Sean will tell you, it was pretty cool, man. There was fence guys from all around here, and everybody was getting along, and it was good to see that,
I am. When I heard about this, I was disappointed that I'm stuck in Missouri right now, because I would have liked to have been down there just to be in that environment, right?
Yeah.
So Chase, what would you say? So your number one takeaway was driven posts or something that you're going to invest in or you're going to look into in the future. What would your number 2 takeaway be from the event?
I mean, the time comparisons of the different number of guys per crew. Once Sean broke it down, that was good to see, like how everyone compared, and like y'all said, the man minutes. Do you need 2 guys compared to 4 guys for different, obviously bigger jobs? You want more guys on them, but
sure.
Sean was saying different methods of digging and all that. My tractor was right down the road with the auger. Obviously, on a 61-foot job, I wouldn't bring the tractor, but sure, I did it just to compare.
Right.
And so it was good to see the takeaway, how the numbers added up, and put it a little more in perspective for me as far as scheduling my guys per job.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because my first reaction would be, if you had asked me before this event, all right, we have 60 feet. We've got a 2-man crew and a 3-man crew. Who gets it done? Or who gets it done fastest? 3-man crew. I mean, you throw more labor at a problem, you get a quicker solution. But with Sean's breakdown, you see, oh, okay, so it might have been done marginally faster, but when we're talking about man minutes, man hours, it took longer.
Yeah.
You didn't get it done a third faster, right? Or whatever the math works out to. So therefore, it actually cost you more labor to build that 60 feet with 3 men or three fence folks than it did with 2. And I think that's a eye-opening piece of information.
Now, the only other thing I might have wanted to see a comparison of was a 2-man crew digging and setting in concrete compared to a 3-man crew. Obviously, a 3-man crew should be faster, but how much faster?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do like apples to apples head-on comparisons. Well, guys, and here's the thing too, is we're also not comparing robots, right? So you'll never have the exact same set of criteria, right? So if the 2 men had worked with each other for years and the 3-man crew had just been put together, that's obviously going to skew those results. But yeah, I don't know. In a perfect world, we'd all get together. We were like, all right, here's the things I want to test. I want to test 2 men driving versus 2 men setting. And I want to test 3 men driving versus 3 men setting. And I also want to test setting this way versus setting that way. And also, you know what I mean? Like we would just have all of these tests run simultaneously. That would be incredible. Maybe next year at the crawfish.
Well, I don't think we're that far off from that. What I think,
No.
Joe, what I think we need to look at is internally. So the most accurate test I can do is have my team
Yeah, right.
do a 2-man dig, and then my team do a 2-man drive. My team
Sure.
do a 3-man drive, and so the same team. Now we're all building fence every day, anyways, guys. So let's start testing our data.
Right.
We count a ton of our data already. I'm gonna take it a step further and start dissecting different pieces of it based on my teams. Right? We have all kinds of matrix already, but I think I can do a better job of testing in the field and figure out what's best for me. But my test results may not work for you, Joe, or you, Chase.
Sure.
My method's going to be different. My equipment's going to be different. But I need to figure it out.
And conditions will be different, right? So that you're probably right in that, testing in your own market is with your own process, equipment, and everything else is the optimal, test for you, you the contractor.
I would suggest this, guys. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we already have the data. Like we're already out there building fence. We just aren't collecting the data and analyzing it. That's really the difference.
So those of you guys that know Sean King, especially the Academy guys, hear me say all the time, what gets measured improves. That's the data. What gets measured and reported improves exponentially, period. No doubt about it, okay? It's just, that's life. We play football and don't keep score. You play half-ass. You put a scoreboard up, shit gets real, right? So I think that's a big difference. We need to report it, which means like calculate it, put it on matrix, read it. But here's my takeaway from Saturday, guys. Think about this. Testing, right? So we had 6 teams and they were building fence. At the end of the day, the number one thing that I would like for everyone to take away is that you need to be testing theories, production in your own team. At the end of the day, the number one thing is I want everyone to start thinking about their business like a machine, and you're going to test and rebuild that machine like a race car and figure out how to make it better, more efficient, and faster. Just go back to your company and test everything that you thought you knew about fence.
Yep. Here's one piece of advice I'd add to that, Sean, is when you're testing, when you're changing variables, change one thing at a time. That's kind of one frustration we've had on our end is, all right, so that didn't work. Let's do this, that, and the other, and let's see what works.
Too much.
Yeah, we're like, oh, yeah, that worked. Why?
Why?
I don't know. It was either the driving or maybe adding the extra guy or maybe it was, whatever else we changed. Like, okay, too many variables. We need to know driving versus setting first.
That's right.
Or manpower first or whatever you're going to start with.
Yep.
Do it incrementally.
I agree.
Let's do this. Let's bring Dan up. So we'll have 4 of us up here. And then let's catch up with the chat because the chat's been rolling here for a little bit. So Riley's 404's got a question. Using barbed wire for chain link fence tension wire or a budget-friendly source 4-wire? So you see barbed wire used for tension wire on commercial projects, at least here. I mean, that's pretty common. On residential, I don't think there's any way. What's that?
Are you suggesting it's less money? It's less money?
No, it's just common here. It's you run barbed wire for your tension wire. He's asking you also for a budget-friendly source for wire, which right now.
So I'm like, it's not less money, is it?
I know
it depends on your source.
I know when I worked for Verizon doing all their towers across southeast Louisiana, Mississippi, all that good stuff. We use barbless. I think it was 15 gauge wire for our tension wire at the bottom, man. And it just worked a whole lot better. It was easy to use. It was quick. I mean, it was great. We'd tighten it up and just go along with our boots, our steel toe boots, and kick the next section. It would pop the slack out. Easy to tie off. Was it less expensive? Honestly, when I was doing that, Verizon was paying for all the material. So I don't know if it was or not, but I know it worked great.
And right now, the price of everything is high right now, but the price of barbed wire went from, it was roughly 77 and change. So we call it $78 a roll It's like was it 1,320 feet to the roll?
Right.
So the last load we got in a barbed wire, it was $162 a roll. So more than doubled within 3 weeks. So budget friendly is not part of the conversation
Not right
when
now.
we're talking about anything right now, but especially talking about barbed wire. Dan, hearing your story reminded me. I was talking. Where were we? We were Fence Tech, Phoenix. I was chatting with a guy that was on the East Coast, and he builds a ton of solar farms. He does chain link fence for solar farms. He's got like 6 crews, and all they do is go farm to farm to farm. Anyway, and they drive posts. They're completely driven, and so what they'll do is they'll drive their corners, and then they'll run barbed wire, and then that's all of a sudden now their string line for driving all these posts. I thought that was kind of a neat
I
concept.
like that. That's kind of a take on the equalizer, huh?
Yeah, similar, but you still got to measure, so it's not nearly as efficient. But yeah, all right, let's catch up here. So William Grove says that was a great time in Nashville. I completely agree. I think Nashville was a great time. Looking forward to doing it next year. So next year, the event's going to be even bigger. So, we're going to have fence installation school. We're going to have stain and steel academy, but also, so Caleb and I were at a power washing event in Atlanta, and next year they're combining that event, the Young Guns event, in with Caleb's as well. Caleb and Sean's as well. So it's going to be.
We need to stay at a different hotel next year, Joe.
Agreed.
One exit down. One exit west.
Don't say everywhere, else I'll get booked up in a hurry. But yeah, I agree. The hotel was interesting. It had a unique odor.
Aroma.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's plenty of folks there that have their medical cards.
Sean, I don't know if you know this, but our room backed up to Joe's, and we didn't realize that until the second day. So the morning that we're all supposed to be leaving, I'm beating on the wall, going, "You really are the king. You are the king." Just beating on the wall, thinking Joe's over there going, "What the hell is Dan doing?" So Dylan looks out the window and goes, "Joe's truck's gone. He's not even there." I'm over there beating on the wall.
I was already over at Caleb's place doing interviews with him.
Already, man. Oh, but it was perfect for the place we stayed at. It was just fit perfect.
Par for the course at that place, for sure.
It was great. Oh, man.
Madison Fence Company, David says, watching from Madison, Wisconsin. Welcome, Madison Fence Company. Let's see here. This is true. Tanner Pullen says, I don't think string line is in Sean's vocabulary. That's true.
I've been on a tangent here lately. Anti-string, anti-paint, and almost anti-tape measure.
Anti-torpedo level.
Oh, there's that too. Man, but I've been saying here, like, save the paint, save the string, when I show up, I'm like, just save them. It's like when they say, yeah.
It's funny how much you don't use a tape measure to build a fence.
Yesterday I used it one time, and the guys are like, at the end of the day, they're like, why do you even keep one on your hip? I said, just something to give you guys talk about.
Just to keep you talking. All right. Madison Fence Company says, was a disadvantage to using nails versus screws when installing pickets on a wood privacy fence. We have cold winters.
You get this every time.
Every time. We talk about nails versus screws a lot.
Or the scrail.
So,
I used scrails for a while. They were good.
They're spendy, but they're more expensive than screws.
Yes.
But so we're going to do a testing. We're going to set up some testing. So I did a nails versus screws video quite a while ago. I want to do some actual testing, shear strength, that sort of thing. We're going to bring in scrails as well, just to illustrate what they are and how they work. But they are spendy. So anyway, advantage or disadvantage, nails versus screws. If you ask 10 fence guys, you will get 12 answers on nails versus screws. I almost guarantee it. Sean, what are your thoughts?
At the end of the day, we got bigger problems to worry about, whether it's screwed on or nailed on. Like, let's make sure the post footings are deep enough. Let's make sure that our construction principles are big enough. I think we split hairs over dissecting little bitty pieces. I'm going on a tangent here, but this is what happens. We worry about these little details when we haven't handled the big problem yet, right? It's like the structure, the base, right? And then we nitpick this piece, and they think that they are golden because of that. At the end of the day, look at the failure points of every fence you're building and work backwards. Where's the most common failure? Fix that one. Next, fix that one. Next, fix that one.
Sure.
And I don't think that nails and screws is the biggest failure that I see. I look at fences all the time. Even this morning, guys, I got pictures all over here in Jacksonville of fences that have been failing. And I asked myself, we could do better. How did this happen? And not one that I see today was because of a nail issue versus screw issue. Now, I'll give you this. Does the screws hold tighter than a nail? I believe it could. Does it hold a longer period of time because of the courses of the screw over 30 years? Yeah, I believe it could. But the reality of it, we're talking about a wood fence. Life expectancy of the wood fence is, for me, I say 15, 20 years. So the failure point of the nail to the screw is past that failure point anyways. I think you're rotten wood.
Yeah, so I think
the wood fails before the screws or the nails.
Agreed. I think the difference you're going to see, whether we're talking advantages, disadvantages, efficiencies in installation.
Yep.
I think you're more efficient with a nail. I know you're more efficient with a nail. Now, one of the disadvantages of screws that people talk about a lot are, will nails pull out? Because one time when I was a kid, we had a deck and the nails pulled out and I stubbed my toe on the nail.
Right.
So nails pull out. Well, so that's actually not a nail versus screw conversation. That's actually a smooth bore versus screw bore versus ring shank.
Yep.
Exactly.
Discussion. So we've used ring shank as long as I can remember, since I was a kid. And I legitimately don't recall going back and re-nailing a section because a ring shank nail pulled out. We split boards all the time replacing them because the nails haven't pulled out.
Exactly. Right. Well, ask the guys who have shot themselves with a ring shank nail and ask them what they think is better, ring shank nail or screw. And they're going to tell you that ring shank nail is in there.
Well, Dan, for a fair comparison, they also have to run a screw through their leg, so I'd rather them not do that. So, let's not, please.
I'm sure there's somebody
out
there put a screw through their leg.
But no, so Madison Fitz, so David, and cold winters, I mean, so you'll get some more contraction, with colder weather, you'll get more contraction. I think it comes down to efficiencies. If you're asking, and please understand one guy's opinion, right? The whole point of this channel is there's more than one way to build a fence. This isn't necessarily the best way or the worst way. This is our way, right? But my opinion is nails are more efficient. And when you don't, to Sean's point, you don't see failures due to fasteners.
Right.
Rarely ever. And when you do,
it's not the biggest problem.
Gates. Right. Yeah, sure.
It's not the biggest problem. So can someone do some testing and say one's over the other? I mean, that's like the wet set to dry set method. Do they both work? Yep.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, guys. The reason we're doing a video about nails versus screws versus scrails is because it's a conversation that people love to argue about. Mm-hmm. So I bet they'll love to watch it and tell me how I'm wrong. And that's fine. That's absolutely okay. I encourage that. Comments are great for the channel. But, at the end of the day, with whatever data we come up with, honestly, it's what's best for your scenario. So if in Madison, nails are the predominant way of installation, method of installation, then use nails. If it's screws, then by all means use screws. I don't know that using one or the other will be, hugely detrimental to your business. All right. Bo Butler, can you talk about the cost-effective ways you have found for training with your teams that you're not consuming a few $100s in materials every time? I think it's a great conversation. So Sean knows a thing or two about training.
I'm going through that too.
I can tell you that I have done training in-house relatively very inexpensively with materials. Okay. We were very creative and if you guys remember Fence Tech 2 years ago, I took those training pieces to Salt Lake City. So we created 2 sections of wood posts and 2 sections of aluminum and 2 sections of vinyl, where their posts were mounted to a 2x12 on the ground in the shop. And we were able to build sections of fence repeatedly, take it apart, rebuild it, take it apart, rebuild it. And even running pickets. We took and wrapped the 2x4s with foam, like expansion joint concrete foam. We taped that to the 2x4, so we were able to run a picket gun and nail pickets over 2 sections using a straightaway and train about how to not use a level and pull them right back off by hand, push the nails out and reuse the same pickets over and over and over and over, so that every team member could do that with, like, we use 40, 50 pickets to do it. So his question is, how do you do it without consuming a large amount of material?
Sure.
That's one way. That's not the best way. I had a conversation yesterday. I said, with the team I was training yesterday, you should be training on every single job, every time. If you see a team member on a job that's not doing something the way it should be done, stop everything you're doing and retrain immediately at that job, on that job. There's never a better time than right there. People say, well, I got to get the job done. Cute. You got that one job done. You didn't fix the problem. So you're going to have the same problem next job. There's I don't care if it costs you overtime. The best money ever spent is paying overtime to train. I'd rather you pay all your team, come in on Friday, Saturday, overtime, and train. That's when you should pay for overtime, not when you're building the next fence. So train on the job, train continuously. If you have to, train indoors on a rainy day and use some material, reuse it.
Yeah, that's what we do. We train on the job. I go out there and, hey, how you been doing it? Show me. I'd rather take material for a customer or see the customer out there, have the customer see me out there knowing, hey, the owner's on my project and he's making sure his guys are doing things the way that he wants them done, because he's the whole reason why the company is where it is, has the reputation that it has, because it used to be me out there nailing up pickets. So, hey, how are y'all doing this? Well, you know what? I've got a better way or a faster way, or at least I think I do. Let's try it. So I would rather waste a couple 2x4s, trying out a couple different methods, and pay 3 guys 1 or 2 hours extra on the job and have training, and then sit back, take pictures, take videos, and utilize that throughout our team, than doing it on a Saturday and just wasting material and stuff, Now, granted, do that if you have to, but I try to do it on site and make sure it's real world. We got to get this right. This customer's not going to like it if we don't do it right.
Well, so Dan hit the nail on the head for me. It's real world. So when we're talking about, training at the shop, typically we're training in best case scenarios, right? We got training center built indoors so we can train on our rain days, whatever like that. But you got to realize, all right, so now this is best case scenario. It's level terrain, it's indoors, it's, on site is real world. And so that's going to be your most beneficial training site, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I'll train over FaceTime when my guy's on the job. I'm on FaceTime. No, do this, do that. And some of the other guys on the crew will get upset because I'm taking up my crew leader's time, showing him a different way. But you know what? It's done. He's not going to ask me next time.
Sure. Chase, what do you think?
I'm kind of doing like Chris and slowly fencing in around my shop. So it's not really a waste for me either.
Good.
So it's that's kind of best of both worlds. It's real world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's out there in the elements, but you're also getting a great fence out of it too.
So we've even done a couple of jobs, guys, where we found someone that needed a fence. They couldn't afford it. It was for, like, we got one coming up May 7th. Has an autistic son, needs a fence to keep him out of the lake, but can't afford it. So we're doing the fence at 50%. They're buying the material. All of the labor is free, and we're going to use it as a training day. We're bringing in companies from all over the United States to come in there and train. But we do that a couple times a year. Find someone that's good. It's good PR. It's good for the community. It's good involvement. It makes you feel good. And they know we're going to be training on their job site. So listen, like, we're going to build you a fence, but we're going to dissect and train every step of the way. Let them know, forewarn them up front. I'm going to do this deal for you, but it's going to be because we're training. That's another opportunity.
I love that.
Materials paid for.
That's awesome. Not just building fences, building communities. That's one of our taglines.
That's right.
So.
That's right.
Absolutely. So, Bo, I hope that answered your question. If not, be sure to drop another question in the comments below. Tyler's got a question. Yep.
So with that being said, that is May 7th. If you guys are interested in coming down May 7th to Indiana, let me know.
There you go. Tyler K.
What's the temperature? What's the temperature in Indiana around May 7th? That's going to determine.
It'll be nice. It'll be nice.
Yeah. Listen, we're not talking temperatures with anyone that doesn't have a frost line. Okay, like that's that's going to be a new channel rule. We're just not talking about environmental anythings with anyone that doesn't have a frost line.
You say frost line, I say water table.
That's true. True
Tomato,
story.
tomato.
Yeah. Hey,
right.
Sean, it's still raining here.
Oh man.
They're sending it your way, Sean. Tyler K's got a question: 6x6 or 2 4x4s bolted together for a gate anchor post.
Oh my God. So on the plane while I was flying here, Joe, this is my idea. I'm gonna start bolting 2 4x4s together. It's gonna be better than 1 6x6 because it's cross grained, and it's 7 inches across, not 5.5.
Yeah.
Holy cow! I've never thought about this until I was flying here, and I'm like, that's it. That's the answer. 6x6s are hard to get. 2 by 4x4s are less money. Oh wow! So my opinion is yes, but I haven't tried it yet.
All right.
Okay.
All
right. This is interesting.
My opinion on this is at that point, at that price point, we're done talking about wood and we're talking about steel.
Well,
I mean,
but Joe,
2
how do you make a
4x4s
steel
is
post?
$30.
But one steel postmaster, we talked about this last Saturday. How do you get a good set gate
Well,
post?
so we don't use postmasters on the gates. We use 2.5 inch CS40.
That's right. You use the shark hinges.
Right. Yeah. And for that reason.
Yep.
But I mean, here's the thing. So we've done 4x6s, 6x6s. We got into back in the land when wood was cheap. We tried out 8x8s. There's a local mill that would mill them up. Let's try it. Let's see. The problem with wood in general is that it doesn't like to stay still. Right. It wants to move. It wants to twist or warp. It's a natural product, and you're going to have the natural product issues. Now, the opposite side of this conversation that I understand is that steel looks ugly. Even if you powder coat it, even if you're still going to see a metal product on a wood fence.
Yep.
I understand. Yeah. Could you figure out a way to box it? Probably. You're still now you're going to see a wood box. So for us, it's steel post because then we offer a lifetime warranty on our workmanship, and we'll go back and we'll fix a gate however many times it needs to be fixed or adjusted for free, knowing that using a steel post and gate hardware that goes directly from the steel post to the steel gate frame takes wood out of this equation entirely. We're not worried about lag bolts. We're not worried about touching any wood here. The wood is purely for aesthetic purposes at this point. And we don't have callbacks. That's not fair. We do still have callbacks, but they are a minuscule percentage of what they once were. And if we're being honest, the reason for probably 75% or more of the callbacks is they left a gate open and the wind grabbed it and slammed it and got it out of adjustment. And it's about a 2-minute adjustment. So anyway, okay. That being said, that wasn't the question. And Tyler, I'm sorry. So if we're looking at 6x6 or 2 4x4 bolted together, Sean, I think you're right. The 2 4x4s are going to be stronger than the 6x6. They absolutely will be.
Especially when you incorporate the cross grain like you talked about. And I've never thought about that. I've never thought about cross grain until we were in Medina, Tennessee with Cannon, with Jackson Fence. And you built your gate the way you built it, which has caused us to start building our gates differently, Sean. Now, we don't go the whole route that you're going, but we're all testing. You're testing your way. I'm taking a part of what you're doing, testing it my way. I feel like my way is a little more appealing to the eye for the customer. Your way, I look at it like, yeah, that's killer. But is the customer going to want to see that? And I also have to understand my region and my area and who I'm going up against. Why does your gate look so much different than the other guy's gate? And that's a conversation I'm not ready to get into. I'm implementing so many things right now. I'll cross that bridge later.
So Dan, we get that question. We get because we use steel frames, and hardly everyone here is still using wood frames, and we use steel frames as our default. Like we don't build wood frames anymore. We've got a fabrication shop. They weld up steel frames for us. And we get that question. Well, why do I want to see a metal gate frame? I want to see a wood gate frame. Why does it look different than everyone else's? The answer is because it works. I mean, that's the reason you're hiring a professional is because you want a professional grade fence. I mean, when the day's done, that's why. And you don't want to do it on and on. But as a professional, I believe that steel gate frames are the way to build gates. Just because we're done with sagging, warping, and twisting.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
With the asterisk here, this is one guy's opinion. Like that's the whole thing of the entire channel. This is one way to build fence. There are multiple ways out there. This doesn't mean this is a better or worse than any other ways. Just happens to be our way.
Right, Joe, and that's what you're doing. You're taking the wood out of it. You got the metal posts, the metal hinges, the metal frame. So, yeah, I mean, it's a win-win all the way around in that aspect.
Well,
if you're doing wood posts, metal frames, which I've done in the past, it's you only get half the equation right.
Yeah, you're relying on the legs to stay, to really be seated well in the post and not relax and the wood not move. Like you're relying on a lot. But I absolutely understand the perspective of the reason I'm getting a wood fence is I want that natural look. And so now if I'm looking at a metal gate frame, a metal post, I don't have the natural look. Like that's the disadvantage to this system. I understand it.
Right.
I believe the trade-off is justified. But,
and I'm doing the same thing with Postmaster. I'm using metal posts for my Postmaster gates. I'm using round, schedule 40, 2 7/8 for the hinge, 2 3/8 for the latch. And I know guys that are using wood, and I understand their point. The fence is not going to last longer than that 6x6.
Right.
But on the flip side, I'm selling the customer a lifetime warranty post, but I've got the two main posts of the fence, the gate post, that aren't going to be steel. So that's the route I'm going with it.
Well, yeah. So in 2018, the number one reason for callbacks for fences in the United States was gate-related issues. Gates drag, they don't work.
Still true today.
Yeah, it does. That's just like the latest report I saw was 18 was the number one callback is gates. So our point, our reasoning was, okay, so we want to take callback. If we could take callbacks out of the equation 100%, that's the goal. Now we'll never get to 100% no callbacks. I just don't. I don't think that's feasible. But let's try to reduce it as much as possible. And this is just one of the ways. If callbacks are number one thing if gate callbacks are our number one reasoning, let's figure these gate things. Let's figure gates out. I don't want to go back for callbacks. Now, like I said, we still do. We got wind. We've got everything else. People don't take care of the gates. That's fine. And there's a decent argument there that it's not the client's fault that the wind grabbed the gate and slung it. Maybe we didn't do a great job of helping educate them on the proper use of a gate. You know what I mean? Like
that's funny you say that, because I've got that in my warranty with my my wood fence and wood gate warranty.
Yeah.
And the explanation of it. And one of them is Mother Nature. But the thing that I'm having now is I've got everything covered. And it's funny. People ask me, what did my contract look like 10 years ago compared to today? It looks completely different because I'm constantly evolving it.
Sure.
And I need to put on there and educate the customer that, hey, on a day like today, when we got 17-mile-per-hour winds outside, you don't walk out your gate with your garbage can and leave it open while you're going to the street and back to come back to find the gate is slammed shut, ripped off the handle board, the striker board, and then you're calling me and going, hey, you built me a bad fence.
Yeah. Hey, this fence fell apart or the gate fell apart.
Yeah.
Oh,
and that's another reason why, thanks to Sean turning me on the company cam, we do videos of all our gates working, put them in company cam. And I mean, I had a lady the other day, it hasn't ever worked right. Well, hold on a second. We take video logs of everything. Let me send you this video. And she called me back. It was the other gate. Well, hold on. I got a video of that gate too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, company cam.
So Jackson Fence has a question for Sean. Why does vinyl wave though? Because this comment's a little old because we were talking about fences that wave. When we were talking about Postmaster post, you said vinyl post wave. So why?
It's
The question is, why is vinyl wave?
what happened.
Are you there?
He's asking, why does vinyl wave?
Are you loser? Are you there?
We can hear
Yep,
you.
we're
Are you
here.
there? Okay. So the reason why I believe it waves is the flexibility of the vinyl. It's hollow. There's nothing inside it. They actually put a good vinyl product, elasticifiers, in the product to make it pliable so it doesn't become rigid in cold weather and crack. So on purpose, it's made to be flexible, not rigid, to give, like I said earlier, to the wind. So if his question is why do they wave, that's what he's asking, back and forth, is the deflection at the ground level where it meets the concrete. The vinyl itself is going to bend and flex. And I tell my customers that you want that. You want that flexibility because it's going to give with impact and come back wind and come back to straight, just like the Postmasters, I believe, doing the same thing.
Well, it's like the videos you see sometimes of either large span bridges or high rise buildings. You see them bending because flexible is strong.
Yep.
Well, I had this conversation with Master Halco the other day about the Postmaster. You know, some guys, and I don't like to use the term wrong, using them wrong. Some guys are just using them the way that they weren't designed or intended to be used. Some call it backwards, some call it wrong, but they're flipping the post and they're running 16-foot 2x4s. So I was like, hey, what is the purpose of this? Why, is there going to be a difference? Is it going to change the warranty if I do go this route? Because I can offer the product to the customer cheaper because I'm not having to go in between each post. So I'm saving time, I'm saving labor. But how does that affect the wind load? Is there a reason why it's 8 foot in between the posts besides giving you the opportunity to hide the back of the post? Is it because the fence can sway and take the winds and it has those pivoting points? Or does it matter if I put a 16-footer on it and every other post doesn't have that sway or that wiggle in it? And they basically said to me, we've never had that conversation before. And I'm like, well, I think we need to have it because there's people out there using the post not designed the way it was designed to be used. And then there may be warranty issues. We need to know as a fencing community, can we do it this way?
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, you see guys do that, and I understand the reasoning behind it. And the thought being, so it's a holdover thought from using wood posts for the installation, right? Is that if by spanning a post, using 16 foot and offsetting your joints, top, middle, and bottom, that you have a stronger, you tie more posts into that line. And I understand that, but Dan, I think you've got an interesting point. Well, one, are there warranty implications? Which I don't know. I don't know. I think I don't know. I think someone would have a hard time saying, denying a warranty just because it was installed that way. But because it would be wind load. I mean, that's when you'd be talking about warranty as a wind load failure. But you're right. I mean, I think we need to test multiple ways. Because I mean, if we need to know the implications of installing it. But yeah, so back to the question, Jackson wanted to know why is it wave, and the answer being flexible, strong. I believe. Wade says, ordered a Postmaster attachment for my Ready driver. Very good. Very good. And then follow up. Together we get better, trying to change that in Minneapolis. So this gets back to the conversation where, in a similar market, we're better together.
That's right.
There's a Jack Johnson song to that effect. Wade's coming down for the boil next year. I am too. Although here's the thing: is us. I don't want to speak for Wade. For me, crawfish. I don't know. He said he also had fish there, so I'm in for the fish.
Good. The fish was
crawfish.
Good too.
I don't. You guys,
Sean, you had a crawfish, huh?
You guys eat
good.
the heads, and that's. I don't know.
I ate all the heads.
That
was good. Well, you suck the juices out of the head. You suck the juice out of it. You don't eat it.
The brain.
Okay.
Suck the brain out.
I eat the heads. I don't do the heads.
It's obvious.
Chase, I'm with you. I don't know. I understand the argument that they're basically tiny lobsters. Okay, I do like eating lobster, but I also don't eat the lobster's head either. I just chop the
Wow.
tail and eat the tail. So, all right. Jackson says they use barbless wire, so they're agreeing with Dan. So Dan was talking about for the Verizon jobs using barbless wire, and that's so when we get into barbless wire, typically it's like on large commercial projects where they don't want top rail, right? We get into those where they don't want top rail, but you do need to have something up top to keep the rigidity of the wire. So we use barbless wire through loop tops on that. Yeah. I wonder. So we haven't priced barbless wire. I'd almost wonder if barbless wire is doing the same thing barbed wire is. I would probably guess yes. Chris Steele says Madison Fence, take time and slow down on a job. Use a customer project to train team, maybe once a month at the end of the week. Yeah. So Chris is saying the same thing. But actually, so that wasn't Madison Fence. That was Bo Butler asking about that cost effective ways of training. So this was in response to that barbed wire comment. Thank you. He's got a bunch of barbed wire left over. So Riley, yeah, if you've got commercial projects that call for bottom wire, yeah, you could use barbed wire for it. We do it on commercial projects because they're really concerned with people trying to crawl under the fence. Now, all of us fence guys understand that no one wants to get dirty and crawl under fences when they could go to Home Depot and buy some bolt cutters and just cut their entrance into this thing.
That's right. Yep.
So I think, yeah, anyway. Who asked the fence guy, though? All right. So,
hey, Joe.
Yes, sir.
I got about 5 more minutes before I need to go put my feet in the sand down there with my beautiful fiance. I told her I'd give her 2 hours. So
okay.
if you've got any questions for me, I'm going to be pumping out of here about 5 minutes.
You got it. Let me scan through some of the comments here. All right. All right. Oh, this person's familiar. Sarah Everett. Our CXO, our client experience officer, says always go for the long-term win. You're investing in your team.
Yep.
Absolutely. Now, Sarah and I have a conversation ongoing. So she's a millennial. And to my understanding, millennials, when you're talking about experience, it's an X. CXO. She tries to tell me, no. Experience starts with an E, so you have made me the CEO. And so that's an ongoing discussion.
Interesting.
Jackson Fitz, how much does a callback really cost? That's the topic I'm interested in. $10 of material, but labor, opportunity costs, etc. Simple callbacks can cost thousands.
Opportunity
100%.
Makes it priceless, though. I like the way Cannon looked at it earlier. That's an opportunity to regain trust, to get to them to really know who you are. Oftentimes when I go on a sales call, I tell them how we build a fence and how good we are, but I'm really proud of it's how we handle our mistakes. We have a system and a procedure in place, and I believe that is important to talk about up front. If and when there's a problem, how do we handle it? And this is how we do it. And I don't want to lie to a customer and say, well, we're perfect. We're not going to make any mistakes. You should hire us. The conversation should be when and if that problem does occur, what does that look like? And that is what they should make a decision based off of. Not perfect. No one's perfect. Nobody is going to be perfect.
Agreed. Yeah, that's the thing. Callbacks are expensive, and you can justify both ends of this. So one side of this discussion would be, but my vehicles are wrapped, so it puts my wrapped vehicle in this neighborhood again. I get it, and that's why I don't necessarily mind it. I want to minimize them because Cannon hit the nail on the head on this one. It's an opportunity cost.
Yep.
Yes, they are there, but they are there not generating revenue. I would rather them be somewhere in a different neighborhood generating revenue, if at all possible.
We're actually wrapping a vehicle right now. It's going to be wild when it's done. But that vehicle is just going to be for callbacks. So it's going to go all day, every day, callbacks, pink sheets, small jobs, pick up work, free fix Friday, all of that stuff. This thing's going to get some mad attention.
So Sean, we'll talk about this live on the air because we've gotten away from doing this, but in the past, our field supervisor would do 1-year warranty walks where they would call, the first of the month, they'd call all the projects from 12 months ago that month and say, Mr. Miss Customer, I'm Scott with Ozark Fence, and I'm calling to schedule your 1-year warranty walk. They'd say, what? 1 year? What's a 1-year warranty walk? Because nobody does it, right? You say, no, we want to do a 12. It's been about a year since we were out there building your fence, and I want to take a chance or take an opportunity to walk the fence with you, make sure there's nothing, we've got a lifetime warranty, but we want to catch little problems before they become big problems. So I'd love to walk the job with you and see what exactly, needs taken care of. It's all under warranty. Like this isn't a sales pitch. I just want to come see, make sure your fence is exactly the way it should be.
I love
And
that.
Like it.
Let me tell you about the positive feedback that the 1 year warranty walks generates.
Yeah.
It's tremendous. Now, like with everyone, we had labor issues and crew chief shortages. So, Scott's back to a crew chief, but we've got a 6-month plan on putting him back into field supervisor. And that will be the first thing we re-implement is the 1 year warranty walks.
Yep.
I like that, especially you doing a lifetime warranty like that. And that's where I'm headed.
Yep.
My biggest thing is when you were talking about callbacks is I'm real big now on educating the customer. That's something I learned from Sean. Never really thought about educating them. And as most of y'all know, I'm renovating my house right now. I've been in construction since I was 17. But I'm my contractor had to educate me on some things because I've never been through that process. I've always been in the process, but I haven't been on the other end of it going through it. And it's like, well, why didn't you tell me this? I would have had this done if you would have told me. And I'm seeing it going, wait a second, this is happening in my business. My homeowners are saying, well, damn, why didn't you tell me this?
Yep.
If you would have told me this. So now when we educate our customers, especially on warranty work and callbacks, if we educate them, they won't call us for warranty work or callbacks that they realize aren't really warranties or callbacks.
Well, so here's the benefit to us of a 1 year warranty walk. One, most people run from warranty work, right? They'll find ways to not have it be warranted, or they run from warranty work. So one thing is I want to be different. I want
most people. I would say those that aren't necessarily at a higher caliber of professional. I'm going to argue and say,
okay,
if you're a professional, I really believe everyone I know they kind of gravitate towards it. I mean, I do the same thing. If there's a problem, I'm on it.
Yeah,
I want to own it.
Okay. That's fair. I accept that, Sean. So some people, the perception maybe from the customer's point of view is that contractors resist warranties.
That's right.
I want to be the opposite side of that coin. So that, listen, what we're looking for is surprise and delight. That is what changes the game with public perception is surprise and delight. So I want the conversation when they're talking to someone on a if someone's looking for a recommendation on Facebook, I want the conversation to be not only did they take care of this issue, they came out and found the issue for me.
Right.
Not only do they have a warranty, they will come out and they will find reasons to fix my fence because it's surprise and delight. And point 2 on this is if we go out there to the warranty walk and find the work, we get to do it on our schedule.
True.
We schedule the work. All right. Miss customer, we do in our schedule, we do callbacks and warranty works on Wednesdays. That's kind of our flex day. So I've got an opening in 3 weeks on Wednesday. Can I have the guys come by then? Sure. You're the one that came and found the problem. Yeah, come on your schedule.
Yeah. I like that.
So
we did nothing but warranty work Friday. That's all we did. I had a guy. We do warranty inspection. So while my salesman is out, I try to catch him when he's in the neighborhoods. But if not, like Friday, we just line him up with like 5 or 6. Go by, do a warranty inspection, take pictures, put everything in the company cam, make notes. Then we call the customer, let them know we inspected it, and we'll be putting them on a schedule. We schedule it, and once it's done, we let them know, hey, it's been fixed. We take pictures, so that's our process. Yeah. But I like your 1 year warranty walk. That's what gives opportunity.
Right. Chase, what are your thoughts on it? You've been quiet lately.
I like it. It's like Sean said, it gives you a chance to be back in the neighborhood advertising, your truck's in the neighborhood, and I think the customers love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it builds goodwill. And the motivation is pure in that you're trying to make sure your customers are happy. There's no ulterior motive because we say from the get-go, this is not a sales appointment. This is not a consultation. I'm here to find warranty work that we will perform for free. And and you have to stick with that. You know what I mean? You can't say that and then say, well, hey, while I'm here, have you thought about this and that? That's not what this appointment is. This appointment is for warranty work only. But as long as your motivation is right, as long as that's your reason for doing it, I think it's a great idea.
And I mean, you may catch a problem before there is one too. And
bingo. That and you guys know customers like I know customers. What happens when they find one issue?
They're going to find more, or they're
going to look for every one of them. They're going to go find a magnifying glass, and they're going to put this fence under a magnifying glass, and they're going to find every single issue. So, that's so you catching it ahead of time. One, like to your point, Jay, you catch it before you catch little problems before they're big problems. But two, also, you're not out there fixing issues that aren't actually issues. You're saying no. We'll look at it. I'll find all the issues for you, and we'll fix those issues. So. And how many times have you ever been on a warranty call that grows on you? You know what I mean? That you go to replace a couple pickets, and while you're there, they're like, you know what? I actually marked a few more, and there's like 30 marks on this fence. You're like, oh, whoa. Now this is not a warranted board. It's a solid board. It has some discoloration or like whatever it is. So by doing the warranty walk, you're also a part of that conversation on what's actually getting warranted.
Yeah, because we've been bid on that a bunch. You show up and they're picking boards apart, and we've had to put any crack less than 6 inches is considered a bad board. We had, and not that this one's only 5 inches, we're not replacing it, but it just opens up the conversation for they already know. And they'll be, hey, I know this isn't warranty, but do you think you could replace this one right here? Yeah. No problem. And I love it when my guys go, only need 10 boards and only need one. No. Load up a whole bundle of pickets. Load up about 22 by 4s.
Yep.
Because I don't want to have to go back.
That's right. That's right. I'm going to bring Sean back real quick. Sean, what is up? We got you back for a few minutes here. I know you're getting ready to go get your toes in the sand. And frankly, I'm done hearing about that.
So listen, I'm out of here, guys. I appreciate the conversation. I'm going to leave with this, right? My new slogan, together we get better. Let's go ahead and keep at that, all right?
I love it.
Man, I'm going to see you May 7th. I'm coming.
Sean, thank you so much for giving us some time here on your vacation. Tell Heather thank you for us, for sure. We don't need Mama Bear mad at us.
I'll get with you, Sean. I may be able to make the 7th, too.
All right, you're more than welcome, my man. We're gonna have a bunch of people out there. It's like 300 or 400 feet of fence. We're gonna knock it out one day. All right.
Very good.
See you guys. Bye.
Thank you so much, Sean.
All right, man.
Bye.
All right, let's get through some more of these comments. So, Cannon's got a point on flipping those Postmaster posts around. Flipping around also pushes those screws further from the end of the rail, which is always going to fail sooner than the center of the rail. So, yeah, I mean, I could see that. So with the Postmaster, with it in the, I don't want to say proper position, but in the original position, yeah, the screws are closer to the end of that rail. I don't know. Now, we've only been using Postmasters for like 10 or 12 years, so we don't have 30 years of data. I can't think of a project, though, that we replaced that we had to go out and work on because the end of the rail split. You know what I mean? I understand. I absolutely understand Ken's point, and it's fair. The further away from the end, the stronger that screw is going to be, or the wood will be around that screw. Yeah, interesting. This is all stuff we should test. You know what I mean? Like we should absolutely test. Maybe the splitting strength. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely understand this point for sure. Here comes a debate: T hinges versus strap hinges. Vertical hinge rail versus horizontal hinge rail. So I'm probably not part of this debate only because we haven't used wood gate posts in quite a while. What do you guys think? Chase, what do you think?
I mean, we use T hinges.
We use strap.
Are they better than strap? Strap spreads it out wider. T spreads it out. I don't know. We haven't tested them to see, so it's just what we do.
Yeah, here's where my mind always goes is when we're talking about gates, we're talking about leverage, right? We're trying to manage the leverage that this gate is putting on the post. So strap hinges being vertical, the leverage is going to be like this anyway. So by putting a strap hinge on, you're really putting 3 points of contact where you're getting a lot of that leverage. I can see T hinges on that. Now, strap hinges spread out that leverage further down the fence where there's more support.
Yeah, I'm not a T hinge fan because of the way we build fence. A lot of guys they run a 2x4 in their gate posts up and down
Yep.
vertically.
Yep.
And see, we don't do that. The way we build our gates, because in our region, our customers, every fence we do gets a decorative porthole in the center of the fence, in the center of the gate. Well, to do that, you want to have full fence boards. Well, to get full fence boards, you got to set those posts exactly perfect. And who's going to do that? I mean, come on. Very rarely do you set those posts exactly perfect and get full fence boards and everything works out as calculated. Boards are cut different sizes and so forth. So what we do is we cantilever past our gate post a hair. It gives us a little. I'm trying to get to the camera. It gives us a little room of margin. So with that being said, we have all horizontal 2x4s. Therefore, I want to use a strap hinge so I can screw into that 2x4 all the way down it. If I were to use a T hinge, I wouldn't have anything to bite into, or I'd have to cut a little piece of 2x4 above my horizontal, and then everybody knows what happens. That board, you screw into it, it just cracks and falls apart. So we use strap hinges because of the technique that we use to get the end result that our region wants, our customer base wants.
Sure. Yeah, and I think, to Kenny, to answer your question from my perspective, is again, this is a conversation that there's no one right way or wrong way, right? So in this instance, Chase uses one way, Dan uses the other way, and they obviously both work. I don't know. So where my mind goes is, do we see failures one way that could have been prevented the other way? And I don't know that that's a thing. I don't know that I've gone back and had to warranty repair or just replace a gate in general. They used one style of hinge that I thought to myself, you know what? If we'd used that other one, it would have worked.
The only
I
time I've
don't know
ever
that.
seen an issue like that, Joe, is when someone uses a T hinge and doesn't do the skeleton, the engineering properly. They just bought a T hinge because that's what they use, and they didn't think ahead and set up their skeleton and engineer their fence to coincide with the hardware they use. So we find they screwed into the gate, and then they got one screw into a 2x4, and then they got another one screwed in to the fence boards. They didn't even put anything behind it. So when I find failure, it's not because of a strap hinge is better than a T or a T is better than a strap. It's because they engineered the design not to coincide with whatever hardware they had, not whether it's right or wrong. They just didn't work it out.
Yeah, in that case, the failure isn't necessarily the hinge; it's just improper installation.
Correct.
Right.
Or not? Yeah, or not proper planning.
Yep, absolutely. David Banks has a point here. Brighter color on vehicle wrap: chrome, blue chrome, or blaze orange. Well, David, I will tell you definitively the only thing to wrap a vehicle is blaze orange. That period. I'm done with this blue business, this blue chrome, and I only say that because Sean's already gone. No, so bright colors work, right? Colors work. To start there. Now we obviously use bright blaze orange on everything. And because of Sean, so the first here in a couple of weeks, the first of the month, we're going to start rotating our vehicles through to get rewrapped orange chrome. So that's going to be a thing.
Nice.
But there's a construction company, Artisan Construction here in town, that is bright green. Like it is the OSHA green, blaze green, or whatever. And those vans stick out from across town. You'll see that thing coming from from a ways.
Well, they say green's seen better with the eye. That's why a lot of the construction guys have green LEDs on their trucks. If you've noticed, it's the color that the eye catches and is seen the furthest. So I'm actually swapping out some of my emergency lighting on my trucks to green for when we're backing in the driveways or pulled over on the side of the road because the load's getting weird.
Interesting.
So green is the color that is seen the furthest by the eye.
It's good to know.
Yeah. I got a buddy of mine that is full of useless facts.
Well, unfortunately, I am too invested in orange to even think about changing colors at this point. I would have to.
Well, I'd
have to replace everything.
I agree with the color scheme. The orange, the blue chrome, and so forth.
Yeah.
But in my experience, mine has been this guy right here, putting this huge face on the side of my vehicles.
Yeah.
Like, man, I see your logo everywhere.
Yep.
I see it everywhere.
Work.
And
wrapping everything in neon pink.
That'll work, man.
There you go.
You go. And then take up breast cancer.
Breast cancer awareness. So that's the one time a year we don't wear orange. During Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we wear pink. So we got like pink Ozark Fence hats. We got pink shirts for all the guys. That's the one time a year we don't wear orange, and we'll wear pink.
That's a great marketing opportunity. Why'd you go with bright pink? Well, yeah, because no one else has it. But you know what? We're heavily involved in breast cancer research and so forth, and you can lateral those. That's a great marketing, branding opportunity for you, Chase.
As long as that's real.
Yeah, as long as it's real.
You know what I mean?
You don't want to just say it. You want to get involved.
Yeah, because I as a consumer, I see through stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, when a brand is honestly on par with their message, or when they're like, yeah, we love to help our community. And you're like, no, you don't. Like, you love to say you do, but you don't. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's easy to pick up on, whether it's, whether the statement is honest to the brand. But if that is your reality, I think it's an incredible thing to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
all right. Let's see. Nathan or Nolan's got a point. Cannon, when you're talking about opportunity costs, you're talking about loss of other avenues while put at the callback. Yep. That is absolutely opportunity costs. Is what could you or what could that crew be doing rather than being at that callback? So Landmark Creations has a point. Communication and education with the customers is huge. Absolutely. When we're first talking to customers, when I was in the consultant role, one of the things I said is, listen, we are going to communicate with you like crazy. We're going to communicate with you so much and so often, you will be relieved when the project is over because the communication will be done. But the communication will not be done. We will still continue to communicate with you often. And that's real. No one has ever complained about too much communication in terms of, a client. If I'm getting my roof done, I will not complain about too much communication.
Hey guys, I appreciate y'all letting me sit in. I'm gonna slide out and let Chris slide back in.
You got it.
Thank y'all.
Of course.
Sorry, I had to shoot a text message there, Joe.
No, you're fine.
Hey, Joe.
Dan's got a little message for us. Welcome back, Chris. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well.
Good. I tell you what, I can't like enough that we were talking about, friendly competition, and then who sits in your seat but a friendly competitor.
It's such a great, man. I don't toot my own horn too much, but I really think that that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely it is. It only benefits both of you.
Right. And there's multiple companies. I mean, I can think of 2 out of 40 people that do fence in our area that we don't talk to.
Yeah.
Right. And there's always a couple, and there's no hard feelings there, but
sure.
It is what it is.
Well, and
we're the exact opposite here.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I try, but
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a couple that we're friendly with. We have one that we work really well with. The other one just specializes in fencing that we don't, so we don't interact with them a whole lot. But the thing is, like, I hope on Monday morning, one of these guys that we don't talk with or that doesn't talk with us, I hope they pick up the phone and call us.
Yeah,
You
me
know what I
too.
mean?
Me too.
I would love to be of service, and I'd love to bring our local community closer that way.
yeah, man, I'd love for a fence crew that's down the street to be short 5 boards and walk down and go, hey man, you got 5 boards? Hey,
Yep.
you got to roll a nail so I can finish.
Yeah, and they're free, right? The
Yeah, yeah.
we don't no, absolutely
Yeah.
not. Just hand those to them. I mean,
Yep, absolutely.
I'll
That's
stop
the
and
thing is,
talk and
those boards are already accounted for as spoilage anyway.
right.
So yeah, they're yours.
Exactly. They're considered calls anyway, so take them.
All right, so talking about T-hinge, strap hinge. Nolan uses T-hinges. So, Chris, we were talking about T-hinge versus Kenny Dugan was trying to get us riled up by getting into the T-hinge, strap hinge debate. And,
I missed this.
It's right up here. Let me get it.
Uh-oh.
Debate: T-hinges versus strap hinges, vertical hinge rail versus horizontal hinge rail.
You ought to see Kenny's response down a little lower.
He's
making sense, unfortunately. Thanks, Kenny.
Well, all right, let's find it. You're looking at strap hinges. The lags have a higher chance of being in line with the same wood grain, leading to splitting the rail.
And that's
T-hinges
true.
with offset lags fight against the grain. That makes perfect sense, Kenny.
Well,
that does. And
we've gotten to the point where our guys drill a pilot hole before we put in our lags because you'll split it. So Kenny's got a valid point, and we've taken care of that problem by drilling a little pilot.
Well, like I said, with gates, we're fighting leverage, right? Like all gates is gravitational leverage. So this is trying to bend, right? So if we have a lag, one lag's fighting the push, one lag's fighting the pull, and so it's kind of sharing that load also. So Kenny, I get it absolutely, but we're not going to fight about it. We're not going to debate it here. All right, we're all going to have friendly conversations. Which is absolutely Kenny's point. I know Kenny well enough to know he's trying to have good, educated conversation.
Right.
Yeah, I met Kenny in Nashville. Didn't even know who he was. I was outside in the parking lot talking with y'all, and we went inside, and Dylan was like, "Hey, Kenny's at like the Stain guy," and I'm like, "What?" Yeah. And then we saw him at the Caleb's deal at the fairgrounds, and I was like, "Hey, this guy, he knows some stuff."
He does. Every time I'm just like around him, I get smarter, and that's no BS.
Dylan's always bringing up how he's bringing common sense into the conversations on the Stain Facebook page.
Yep, that's absolutely the truth. Nolan says we use steel frames, so that's why we use T-hinges.
Makes perfect sense.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I was noticing Chris's gates at his facility for the crawfish boil, and he has all steel frames, T-hinges. So I see why those guys use them,
Yeah, we use butterfly hinges, Dan. So
I mean butterfly. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
butterfly hinges.
We go down in the frame and bolt through. But I really like those shark hinges. And later in time, we have more time. I want to ask you about those.
Yeah. So I'll start this by saying we love them.
Right.
But they have supply issues. So they're at this point they're an allocation item. They'll send us, I think it's 50 a month is our allocation.
Wow, that's only 25 gates.
That's some good math on that, Dan. Some good math on that.
You could use 6 on a job. Boom.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're running into is we're having to stagger our installation dates based on how many gates a month can we put in, and that's not even selling them. Like we've got part of our operation here is a retail operation, and so we don't sell them. We can't sell them.
Right.
I mean, because we're service first, retail second.
Yep.
So
same with us.
That being said, so Sarah, who's probably still on the broadcast here, commented earlier. My sister, she's working with some factories on manufacturing something that is similar but different enough not to violate the patent. So we are very cognizant of that.
Got a
We're
lot
not
of
going to
that
get
going
into
on
patent
recently.
infringement issues, but trying to find a supplier of those that can actually supply multiple vendors or multiple customers with them.
Right.
Man, it's amazing to see what this quarantine and COVID has done and forced people to move into directions they would have never moved in. Would you have ever thought that you would be trying to find something equal to the hinge that you're using, but not infringing just so you can
Right.
get them to go to work?
Right. Well,
It's
that's
crazy how we diversified.
right. Well, and we're doing that on fittings as well, just because chain link fitting supply it's absolutely crazy right now. So we're working with a family of factories in India to buy fittings direct. And that's, if you'd asked me 5 years, then why? Like
Right.
that makes no sense. Why would I take on the extra headache to do that? But now I'm like, well, there's a pretty good reason.
Yeah.
Same here, man.
So this could be an interesting conversation to have in talking with this family of factories in India. And so they produce the majority of the fittings that enter the United States, the import fittings that enter the United States. And they're telling me there is no supply issue. Like, yeah, we'll ship you what do you want? You want one container? You want 10 containers? We can ship it. It'll take several months for us to manufacture and ship it to you. But yeah, that's not a problem. Like, are you sure? Because I've heard there's a very big problem with this.
Right.
No, we can accept the order. So that was interesting to hear. Now, that's probably something that's easier said than done.
Right.
That could just be an answer.
To get your business.
Yeah, but they were
Get the
willing to
order.
take on an order of 10 containers. So that's a
Wow.
significant amount of fittings.
Yeah, if they
Yeah,
accept.
I'd like to have that conversation with Sean. I know he's doing some container stuff also.
Yep.
And I wonder what
Ours is
those guys
fine.
are saying. Huh?
Ours is pine pickets. I mean, that's relatively what everyone uses, and it's crazy. You find a mill. I mean, you start calling and calling and calling, and someone answers the phone like, "Yeah, you want 5 trucks of them?" Like, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we'll send you 5 trucks, and it's like, how are you? How do you have them and no one else is closing?
Is it political? Is it because a lot of these middle guys that we're buying pickets from have contracts with certain people, and they're overloaded with their contracts, and all the people who don't have contracts are like, hey, we got pickets.
Maybe.
Because they're not married to a contract and they don't want to breach it. So
Could be.
now those guys are getting the opportunity that the other guys that had the contracts have had.
Yeah.
So I'd be surprised to see what's going to happen if these guys, like you're saying, they say, hey, yeah, we can send you 5 trucks. Yeah, we can send you this. It's going to be nice to see if those guys are going to rise to the level of the guys that are supplying the big boxes. And then we're going to have more in the market. And I wonder if that'll finally drive the prices down.
So I think we'll see that to a certain extent. We're seeing the same thing with the box stores here. Pine pickets are starting to really pile up. Now, they still charge more than what we pay for cedar. So we're not offering treated pine right now.
Wow.
But yeah, they are
What's a
proud
pine
of
picket running? What's a pine picket running right now, Joe?
I want to say it's like 272, something
wow.
like that, 280 almost with the sales tax and all that.
Right.
So
Yeah,
we're
I think
not
my last buy I bought like $1.82, and I was like, I'll take it. Load me up, on pine.
Yeah, I think we might see some reduction in price. The problem is, and there are people that are much smarter than I am that need to get in on this conversation, but the problem is inflation has really started to run. So because there's more cash in the economy, there's more supply of money right now than we've ever had. So things will have to cost more. We see this in other economies. Now, granted, not to the extent of like a Venezuela. They flooded the economy with money and then it all went upside down. We're not seeing it to that extent, but you can see that inflation is starting to run. So we can't get back to pre-pandemic levels until we take some of the money out of the economy. and no one at this point is willing to even have a conversation about taking money out of the economy.
I guess the
So
question is, what are you doing to prepare for when that happens? That's the next question. You know,
yep, that's a
that
pretty good
profit
question.
account better be where it needs to be.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
and you better have options. So
Diversify.
one of the options is buying bulk, and that gets where we get into the India conversation with fittings. On a 2.5-inch brace band, where retail, I want it, not retail, wholesale, we buy those at, I want to say $2.12, something like that, maybe. Overseas, they're like 60 some odd cents, 62, 63 cents.
Yeah.
So, is that a hedge against it? If I'm buying a thing at 63 cents that the market values at a couple dollars, it's a pretty decent hedge.
Yep.
Yeah.
AFA has been screaming for the past year, get in touch with your suppliers, have that relationship, find other options.
Yep.
Tony did a lot of great videos back before it even really got bad.
Yeah.
So they're a big help with that.
Absolutely. Like I'm a huge fan of the AFA. I really am.
Oh, yeah.
And
Changed my life completely. 100%.
absolutely.
It's changing my life.
And their motivation is to elevate the industry through education.
Yep, professionalism through education.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're talking about educating our customers. Us as business owners and us as skilled craftsmen need to be educated also.
Yep.
Agreed.
So and the other thing is networking like this. Hey, we got an opportunity to buy 10 containers of chain link fittings. Joe might say, hey, I've got the connection, but I really don't have the working capital to do that and still run my business the way I need to do it. Chris, you want to buy 2 containers? Dan, you want to buy 2? Run it all through Joe. Everybody's happy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
a lot of that.
And there's a lot of that going on. A lot of that. I mean, I've got guys, we'll post we need cedar pickets. And I've got guys calling me, dude, we got cedar pickets down here. I'll buy them for you. Y'all can come pick them up tomorrow before they sell.
Yep.
And it's all because of the exposure and the speaking up that we've been doing. That people, they want to help. They want to be a part of it.
Well, it's a community.
Yeah.
It's the community stepping up to help others in the community.
Exactly.
All right, let's catch up on a few comments. We're just past 12:30, which is kind of like when I like to wrap this up. Let's follow up. So Nolan agreed with Dan on planning out. Well, this is talking about hinges. The T hinges that failed because they failed to plan for the hinges. Yep. Nolan says we have been ordering containers of cedar from China. Dan and his signs. So. Yeah, so Nolan, that's interesting. That's an interesting conversation to get into. Wood products make me nervous to import. And the only reason being they're a natural product, right? So they're more likely to show defects. With the steel product, if you stamp it and you've got the great quality control on the factory side, there's not a lot that can go wrong with a 2.5-inch tension band in transit. With wood, I mean, you could leave the factory in great condition, and then the next time that container gets opened up, there could be a big issue inside there. So that's the only reason why I haven't gone down that road. But I'm always willing to have that conversation, though. So I'd absolutely like to hear.
My issue with the wood from out there is it's normally kiln dried. So I see splitting when we hit it with our nail guns. The boards swell instead of shrink. There's a lot, but hey, I've used them, and I'll buy those boards when I'm doing a shadow box fence.
Yeah. Well, and we love kiln dried lumber for pre-staining. We like it a lot. And I mean, kiln dried. Here's my thing with kiln dried. So as long as you're not buying it the day you need to use it, the longer it sits on your lot, the more it acclimates to your environment. So
good to know.
One guy's opinion. I'm not a scientist. I don't know that for a fact. But my experience is, so right now we're sitting on lumber that we bought 6 months ago, that we're still trying to work through. So it's had 6 months to just sit and acclimate to our environment.
I think Nolan commented a little lower. He said they have a 25% waste rate on their KD.
So let's get down to that one.
That's a lot.
I don't like it, but that's been our best option. Okay. I should have clicked on that one before I jumped into that ramble.
This next guy is from Iran. He said,
Mohsen Farhadi. Mohsen, I apologize for butchering your name. Buying bulk is where it's at. So he's from Iran. Here we're experiencing more than 40% inflation every year. Buying in bulk will grow, others suffering. Those that buy in bulk grow, those that don't suffer. That's interesting. So the main producers of steel fittings, fence fittings, are India, China, and Pakistan, is my understanding. So you would think Iran would be kind of right in. Now, I understand geographically they're not right next door, but they're in the vicinity. They're closer than the states are.
Closer than we are.
Yeah, that's right. So that's interesting. Interesting that we've got someone from Iran watching.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much. I would love to have a conversation with you on the differences of building fence in Iran versus the States. Like that interests me so much. But Moses' point is, so Moses Moses ahead of us as far as the inflation curve goes. I think we're going to see it. I mean, we're already starting to see it. So I think if we could learn from others that have seen it, seen the results of it, I think we'd be better for it. Like I said, I would be super interested in having a conversation with you about that. So here's Nolan's comment. We have a 25% waste rate, and it's kiln dried. We operate on like a 4 to 5% waste. You would have to see some pretty significant savings to justify 25% waste, or have something to do with the waste. Now that's a different conversation.
Yeah, you've had that before. I like that.
Yeah. So that's an interesting conversation, is what to do with coal pickets.
Yep.
Now, this conversation came up before. What to do with coal pickets. Cedar you can burn. If you want to burn it because it's a natural product, right? It's not treatment.
I got bashed on that post pretty badly.
If you burn, yes.
Yeah.
So if you burn treated pine, one, it's an EPA violation for unrestricted release of a carcinogen into the environment.
Yep.
Those fines start at 10 grand and then they get creative, right? It also can be a felony depending on how many you burned at one time, how many they can prove you burnt at one time. It could be a felony. So, one, I'm not looking to pay the EPA any money, and two, certainly not looking to catch felonies. So, burning pine pickets, not a great idea.
I mean, I could see a guy doing it in his backyard or something, but they drive by one of our facilities,
Yep.
fence company, and they see fire. Yeah, I'm not taking that chance.
Well, and I don't want to be a part of that conversation at all, where we're talking about burning them at all. Like, I don't care where it is. I don't care what I just don't want to be a part of that conversation. Also, the point that I got heated with was the comment about buying them from buying other pickets from a box store, using them, and then returning the pickets that you couldn't return to your supplier, to the box store and get credit for it.
Yeah.
That is dishonest from the get-go, right?
Well,
like I don't know I'm a fence guy. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know about the legalities of that, but it's dishonest at the base level.
I'll tell you what my experience with that. If I were to pull the tag off the bottom of a 6-foot pine fence board and pull it off of another one at a different store and bring it, the SKUs are exactly the same. Now, the next thing is, in my experience, I'll buy from 3 or 4 different vendors. How do I know which board came from which vendor?
Yeah,
my guys are pulling boards. We're sticking things over in our calls or our bad boards to go back for returns. So if I buy some boards from, one vendor and they don't take returns, but I buy boards from another vendor and they do, we're just taking what's in the stack. They all have the same SKU number on them, and some of them coming from some vendors don't even have a SKU.
Yeah, I follow you here, Dan.
That's where I'm at. I mean, Hey, maybe I'm doing it wrong, man.
I follow your logic, Dan. What I'm saying is this comment was intended to scam this store, right? So they said, hey, if you've got these that you can't return, just go buy some from a box store, use those, and then return these other pickets you can't return. Like, that is intentional and just thought out, right? So I understand your point, but what I'm, if it's unintentional, then it's unintentional. What I'm saying is the intentional deception, trying to return these, it's dishonest to begin with. You know what I mean? That you're intending, they absolutely mean to deceive this supplier, this whole, the big box store. I was out on that, and I called it out, and then I was confronted by one of the moderators of that page, so I'm gonna just leave it be, and they can have whatever conversations they want on there. Will H says Chinese cedar's the worst. It all failed here in San Antonio. With 1 year, it dried out to dust. Interesting. So further, that kind of furthers the. I'm going to stick with what we're doing. Mosen says in here, brick wall are more common than fences, and those who want fence here, it's usually galvanized posts with chicken mesh, like materials instead of fence boards. So yeah, and Iran is absolutely a completely different environment too. So you're dealing with more heat, less humidity, so it's a lot drier there. Like I could see, so it's going to be like here in the States, when we're talking about building fence like out in Arizona, right? It's dry, it's hot, wood products. Yeah, they turn so like the others, like Noah or Will had said, they turn to any wood product turns to dust in the desert. So I could see that being the case in Iran. And tall greens for all around. So probably evergreens or something to that effect. Well, evergreens wouldn't really grow in Iran. Interesting. Mosen, thank you for that input. I am super interested to hear more about that.
You can put a push pin in Iran. You got a guy from Iran. So you can put a pin in Iran. People would watch the show.
Yep. Mosen from Iran. Heck of a deal.
Awesome.
Heck of a deal. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you joining me. I do. I want to make this kind of a regular thing, maybe a monthly thing or something like that, where I bring on kind of a panel for a panel discussion. Because, like I said, the whole point of the channel is there's more than one way to do this.
Absolutely.
This is simply my way, but that doesn't mean it's any better or worse than anybody else's way. Exactly. So I think we can further that conversation by having panel discussions with multiple experts in their fields. I think we all get better for it.
I love it, Joe.
So, yeah, I love it too, Joe. Great. I love what you're doing for the community. Community,
Yep.
And the homeowner.
We're all just trying to make it better.
Yeah, and the homeowner, the DIYs.
Yeah. Yeah, really. I mean, there's two distinct viewers of the channel. You've got, maybe three. The DIY crowd, the homeowner crowd that does it themselves, the homeowner crowd that doesn't want to be taken advantage of by a contractor, right? And they're trying to gather information, which is smart. Mm-hmm. And then you have the contractors that I talked to a lot of contractors here on the page that are simply either starting out and wanting to grow, or guys like me, like I am obsessed with learning. Like I am obsessed to learn how other people get it done to see if we might make ourselves more efficient or we can learn from it. So
definitely.
Yep. So we're trying to create content for everybody for sure. But guys and gals out there watching, I appreciate you sticking around. Also, we'll be posting this week's video right after this live. So this week's recorded video is an interview I did with Tom Reber a few weeks ago. We cut out a part of the interview that I think is worthwhile watching. Now, it is a longer video. It's 30 minutes or so, 32, 33 minutes. It's a bit longer than our 7-minute average, but I think it's worth it. We looked at splitting it into separate videos, and that really didn't make sense in the context. We looked at cutting some of it out to make it a shorter video, but we really lost a lot of value. It's a longer video, so brace yourself for that, but I think it's worthwhile. There's a lot of good information. We're talking about gross profit, basically about contractors not knowing their financial numbers and how that can really hurt them, their family, and their clients and customers. So stay tuned for that. Gentlemen, like I said, Chris, Dan, I appreciate you guys joining me. And those out there watching, I appreciate you guys watching. For now, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.